What is going on with the audio over there on YouTube? Good evening and welcome to Mindful Life 251. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is the 10th of the 7th in the year of our Lord 2023. Yeah, the year is moving along. And you know, still have a slight cough here that we trying to slowly get rid of. But tonight, let's talk principles. You see, a principle refers to a solid basis for something. A basis with which you could build a foundation on. And all the reasoning thereafter would flow from that basis. So, if you have a principle that stealing is wrong, then stealing is wrong regardless of what might be the variables around the situation. Then your principle remains that stealing is wrong. And the reason I thought about this, to talk about some celebrity news. Now listen, I am not the celebrity news guy. I'm just going to let you all know this one time. So if you hear me talking about the celebrity news and lots of facts missing in and around these situations, then just don't worry with it. I don't keep up much with celebrity news. Just when it comes blasting across the timeline so loudly that you have no choice but to take it in. But I noticed two different celebrity stories that ran across my timeline in the last 2 weeks or so, and I found them similar to two serious stories coming out of the educational sector here in Trinidad and Tobago that also ran across my timeline over the last 2 weeks or so. Rooney says, how people born in the 2000s working, marrying and breeding. I felt very old. Yeah, Rooney, I feel old. What is breeding? Me see, you know what breeding is. I always feel old when somebody tells me their birthday and it starts with 2000 and anything. You're not supposed to be even telling me this. How are you talking? And you're born after 2000? The worst is somebody who was born in 2010 could be giving you back chats and lip. Sir, how are you existing? Why are you not an embryo or something? 2010? No, man. No. If you know I can't stand that word, I could understand exactly why you can't stand that word. I understand exactly. Something I've noticed over the years watching conversations is many times many women don't like that the language that changes human relationships into that kind of more biological, mechanical language. So I know many women don't like the idea of calling women females, and you're calling procreation, breeding, and etc. And I understand why it's a bit dehumanizing. I understand that. Trini Hotep says, my brother was born in 2010. Now he is registered for secondary school. Oh gosh. Listen, how you born? After I left secondary school, I am a young man. I just left secondary school. I could still remember my I still have my long khaki pants. How you talking to me? And you were born after I left secondary. I mean, not even Form 5. After Form 6, bro. Nah, y'all are just out there. No. Nah, bro. That term just... out of all the terms, that one is probably the worst. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about principles, let's start with the celebrity side of some of this. The celebrity side. As I said, I am not the main celebrity news guy, but some celebrity news popped up across my timeline. The first one I saw was this whole Kiki Palmer business. So this lady apparently has a boyfriend who she has a child with. And you're talking about my child in Form 3. Oh gosh. Yeah, and apparently who she has a child with. And she went to a concert with Usher, and then Usher serenaded her, and she swooned over him apparently, and there was some kind of interaction that seemed inappropriate to some people. And her dress code was inappropriate. for in some people's estimation. You know, she had on some provocative underwear with a sheer top over it. Now, I've seen some people say that ain't nothing wrong with that, and if there's nothing wrong with that in your view, well, you go on strong in your view. But apparently, the father of her child found some issue with that and went online and made a scene about it. Now, I was looking, and many people were saying that, you know, he's right. He's right to feel some type of way about it. But where he went wrong is bringing it to the public. How dare he bring their relationship out in the public like that? And you know, to me, I kind of agree with that. Like, okay, relationships, you know, there are complicated things, and oftentimes you can't know all the details of a relationship. So to try and judge from outside is difficult. That's why I disagree with putting your relationship business up online in the first place. You're asking people to judge about it if you put it there for the people to judge. All right, and many people were on his case about that. You know, how dare you do such a thing? You're trying to embarrass this woman, and well, some people were arguing that he had no reason to be angry in the first place, which I think is a nonsensical argument, really and truly, but some people did. And then a week passed, and I don't know how many of you know who Jonah Hill is, one of the stoner actors from the 2000s. He was a really big guy and he lost a lot of weight, and you know, he's on that journey, etc. Now, and one of his exes came out with news, came out to share his texts, some of his intimate texts with her, because she claimed that he was emotionally abusive. Okay, so he was emotionally abusive. What were the texts? Apparently the texts were she was a surfer. She was a surfer, a professional surfer, and he found that once they were in a relationship, he laid down some rules that he considered his boundaries. These were his boundaries. He did not want her cavorting around with other males. He did not want her posting half nude or bikini pictures and pictures in bathing suits, etc., etc., and all of that. And then he said, you know, if you don't want to do this, well, you could leave. These are my requirements for being in a relationship. If you don't want to do this, then leave. And then amazingly to me, I saw a lot of the same women, young women, who are out there lambasting the baby daddy the week before about bringing his news to the public. All of a sudden, they were like, yes, you know, I had a narcissistic, manipulative ex-boyfriend too, you know. My ex was just like that. He used to emotionally abuse me too. And I'm like, wait, isn't the principle here keep your relationship business private? So how come all of a sudden you could be critical of this narcissist? And it's right for her to, you know, we have to stand together as women. So when this abuse happens, we have to bring it to the public to show other women that this is true. You are not alone. Okay. So is the principle now that relationship problems should be made public to show people they aren't alone? Which is the principle here? You see, this is my problem with a lot of these things. If there isn't a principle, how do you expect people to know how to act on something? Every single situation is a unique situation that no one could have a proper working idea on how it should be dealt with. There's no principle. The principle is whatever we say goes at this moment. All of a sudden, everyone comes out to criticize. And you ever notice, everyone has a narcissist ex. How are all these narcissists just walking around society? Everyone has the narcissist ex. And everyone felt the connection of their narcissistic, emotionally manipulative ex. And you know what was strange to me about that second situation? as far as I know, as I say, I don't know all of the news around the celebrity people business, but I see what is posted. As far as I could tell, the celebrity guy Jonah Hill has a new lady in his life who is now pregnant, and they just announced ORL, and they just announced that they have their child on the way. And it's upon that announcement that all of a sudden his ex from over a year ago realized that actually he was an emotionally abusive, manipulative narcissist. And she hopes that he gets a daughter so that she will be a feminist. And I'm looking at sensible young ladies all around this internet world, and they're like, yes, sister, we stand with you, sister. We understand the manipulative narcissist. White rich people problems. You know, RL, I disagree, bro. That's not white rich people problems. That is not white rich people problems, because I can assure you there are many men out here that will tell you they have seen some problems identical like that. All of a sudden, the narcissism has come to light when the lad seems to be carrying on. And the unprincipled folks have jumped on this bandwagon too. I'm like, what is the principle here? What is the principle in this? What is the principled basis? RL says, thank God I have a village bush girl for a wife. Yes. Ha. I am sure some people would listen to you say that and say that you're being misogynistic. So you want a woman that you could manipulate. That's why you're thanking God for that, RL. You have a village bush girl that you could easily manipulate and you could browbeat her. You misogynistic pig. How dare you? How dare you? Like, I don't even understand this. Like, I look sometimes and I see criticisms online that how dare a man want a lady as a partner who isn't going to argue with him? You want to push over a woman. No, someone doesn't want to stay till death do us part with someone who is harassing them every day and night. Like, that seems like a logical choice. Militant Rockstar says most men of substance would have narcissistic tendencies. It seems so. RL says, I want a woman that listens, that's all. Woo! Another term that sounds very narcissistic. RL, why must your woman listen to you? Is that your child? How dare you want a partner that you can get along amicably with? You manipulative, narcissistic, misogynist, you. How dare you? You are supposed to want a headache, RL. And if you do not want a headache, then you are not a real man. I think everyone has narcissistic tendencies. Yeah. You see, that's where these things become a little difficult, because we have to be careful how we pathologize things. Joe's Redner says, how come we as men must listen to them but they can't listen to us? Yeah. I think we have to be careful how we pathologize things. How we pathologize things, as in narcissism by and large was what was considered a personality disorder. That's a mental pathology, basically. Someone who doesn't just see themselves in a positive light, but sees themselves in so positive a light that it pathologizes their otherwise normal behavior. That's the narcissism we're supposed to be talking about. But when you say everyone is a narcissist or everyone has some narcissism, you get into the realm where, I mean, do you expect people to not like themselves? Like, regularly you hear about the golden rule: treat people like you would like yourself treated, or love your neighbor as yourself. And do, but if loving your neighbor as yourself is a good thing, then it suggests, you know, you're kind of supposed to love yourself too. So, like, Room says I need to get in on this conversation. Need, not just want, I need. And you know, it goes further. Woo! Wait. The heat starting in the chat there. Nisi says men does create the problems. Men by nature go through and solve more problems than women in life do. Woo! You're somebody like your fan on a little bit there. You see these kind of comparisons are what happens when we attempt to put men and women on the same field. Men and women are not the same. To compare those struggles and try and do more or less, I don't think it's a fair comparison. It's like comparing the life of a lion and a zebra. While they may both live on the Serengeti, they may both be African animals, they may both be mammals, their goals and how they accomplish them in life isn't necessarily the same. So someone might look at a lion's life and think a lion's life is so easy. They sleep for so much of the day, but they have a kind of high stakes, high intensity life. If you miss that catch, then you're dead. You can't go grazing for food. Your food isn't everywhere. While on the other side, some people may look at a zebra's life and say you always have to be looking out for a dangerous animal who wants to kill you. But then there are way more zebras than there are lions. So maybe it's not that dangerous, and the zebra's food is ever present. All they need to do is bend down to the ground and eat their food. So whose life is more difficult, the zebra or the lion? You know, it's an impossible thing to try and take a zebra and a lion and compare and say the lion's life is more difficult or the zebra's life is more difficult. It's just totally different.
Good night, everyone. How you doing?
Good night, Room.
A couple things, just a couple observations before we get into, because sooner or later we're going to get into a debate of them versus us. That's always where it goes, right?
Not to me.
Not to me either, because to me it's this. Every time a man has standards and boundaries and expectations, he are considered a narcissist, a pedophile, and all these things that are associated with what a man's expectations are. If you expect a woman to be submissible, to expect her to be somewhat agreeable in the household, he want a dummy, he want a fool, he want a imps. But when a woman has standards, she want a tall man, a rich man, the man must make it more money than her, it is considered expectations that the man must meet. And it's in a society where preference is the freedom of choice. It's demonized for a man to have preference. It's demonized for him to express it. Even if he wants a woman fit, slim and sexy, that is considered bigotry because he has something against fat women.
Yes.
And
Room, let me tell you why you're right. You're right. Not that I think you're wrong, but how I think this was engineered in a sense. Women, by and large, are naturally more picky than men. Naturally. It's as I have to get this t-shirt made. When I get it, Rooney, you sure to get the first one. There's a biological reason for that. In nearly any species, you look at the birds are the prime species, you see it. The female is by and large more picky than the male because the female is the gatekeeper in terms of that biology, breeding, as Nisi hates to hear. But in a society where you had, generally speaking, monogamy, enforced monogamy, you generally have everyone pairing up. So even if women are more picky than men, eventually the picky women have to pick somebody and settle. But when things start to change and the sexual revolution hit and enforced monogamy became less and less of a thing, now women don't have to marry off at a young age. No, you explore your options. Okay, well then you're going to see what women would choose if they had all options to choose, and we're seeing that happen. And now we're actually seeing a kind of, what I think is a bit of a twist on that, where we're seeing where men do have a preference too, and as women are enacting their preference, men are beginning more and more to enact theirs too. And the preferences of men, they are, let me put it this way. I'm trying to get a good way to put it. The preferences of men, by and large, women by and large have to retain most of the things that men prefer, while men have to obtain most of the things that women prefer. So the difficulty in that is that for a woman who has lost some of the things that men prefer, it's nearly impossible to gain it. While for a man who hasn't yet obtained many of the things that women prefer, there's a sliver of hope. So it's difficult to tell a single woman who has one child at 36 that actually the vast majority of men don't want what you have to offer, and there's nearly nothing you could do to reverse that. That's a cruel thing to tell to someone. And
but it's the truth, though.
It is the truth. I'm not denying that. It is the truth.
Because I prefer that this conversation is held in honesty. Women are born with intrinsic value. Men have to create value. And from the perspective that men create value, it is long lasting in terms of resources and protection. What's the word? Intrinsic value is the ability to bear children at a particular age. And when we try to deviate from that and give them or create additional value without the core value being understood, because the real value of a woman is her ability to bear children. And whether people people go on as being sexist, but what is the purpose of a woman? You understand? And from a first perspective, and people will say that word is being being a bigot, but you cannot have a conversation when you frame the narrative and expect the narrative to be truthful to you because that is what you expect it to be, and absent it from reality.
Yeah, here's the thing. Just now, actually, just now. You see, when you say something like purpose, it's not totally that I disagree, but there's a connotation as, okay, purpose as regarding what? Now, here's the thing. I was having this discussion with somebody, random stranger online today, where they were saying they find it so they resent the fact that it seems that for so many women becoming a wife is your greatest accomplishment. And I was asking, okay, if you don't like that and you think it's belittling for that to be the case, what would be a greater accomplishment than that, considering that becoming a wife to much of the world, to the majority of the world, is the way that you stably carry your legacy on into the future. Okay. And she said, well, getting education. And I asked, why is that a bigger thing? Because when you're educated, you could better help your family. And I'm like, okay, so education is a building block for family. So in that sense, I understand and I kind of agree with what you're saying, Rum, because I often say this. If you do not work towards family, then what are you working towards?
But Nathan, let me say something, and education will become a dime a dozen today, right? Society and family has always been the building block of society, regardless of how we look at it. If you look at a lot of developing countries who accept that this degeneration of the degeneration of the woman, like Canada, even China, the United States to some extent, where there has been a mass exodus to people where you call the passport roads. Canada has a serious shortage of terms of young people willing to enter the economy, even Japan, because we tend to mix up the word freedom without accepting it comes with a responsibility. And freedom only makes sense when it comes under the guilt of responsibility. And a responsibility of a woman is and a woman is in the place of humanity. And I want us to accept that. We may not agree because of the very essence that people feel education can change the world. Education can't change the world if you have nobody to pass it on to.
Amen. And you see, what you're saying there, Rome, goes down to the what I labeled this entire episode. Principles. So the principle is that women are the womb of society. That's a principle. You actually hotel.
This conversation, man, social media, I've been having this conversation for a long time. And here's the thing, man. Listen, I call it late stage empire syndrome. This is late stage empire syndrome. All empires had to face it, and that's the truth. It's just today's people kind of live in this secluded bubble of and you can really see that happens all the time, right? Like the interior of an empire always thinks to believe that nothing will ever happen to them. We live in this bliss of ever-loving resources. And here's the thing, Room. I'm all for having a conversation, right? But I am more of a proponent of just letting the people have it, right? Let them ride it out. Because here's the thing, when you let it ride out for a few years and people see that, oh my God, this is not working, they will obviously have to shift, right? That's how it works. You understand what I'm saying?
Right before you go on, though, Hotep, to join those 2 points you just made there. So, as you say, late stage empire and let it ride out for a few years. The problem with many late stage empires is they think that it could ride out for a few years. But here's the problem. Every late stage empire shows you the barbarians are always at the gates. As just said, Roman Empire Part 2. The barbarians are always at the gates. And when you turn into a weak society thinking, we have time to rectify that, there will be a stronger society that are still at the barbarian level, right at the gates, willing to knock down your walls and raid your late stage empire for all of its riches. And don't think humans have surpassed, we have evolved past barbarianism. That's a lie.
I'd like to follow up on what Nathan has said. Just to follow up on what Nathan has said. The concept of a woman now is relatable because we believe that we're so free. So when we take that weight and let it ride out, it becoming the concept of a woman or what we consider a woman to be will be probably a very moving target in the next 20 to 15 years. So for us to wait on something and not hold to our principles of what it makes for society, I'm telling you, as it is happening right now, because just 2 to 3 years ago, a man was a woman for almost a couple of years became get award for Woman of the Year.
Well, the most beautiful woman in Netherlands right now is a man.
Exactly.
The thing is this, and this is why I find the beauty in being a libertarian, right? I get to juggle many ideas. The thing is, what I've sit down and really listen to conversations, especially Americans, is that they really think that this freedom and free will really means that they could just do whatever they want and nothing will ever happen. Only good things. So with thinking that freedom and free will comes with only great things is a ridiculous notion. That's why today's people really are very complacent in this thing, right? People don't understand. You take freedom and free will too far with human beings, we reach devastating places.
Correct.
You don't want to know where the thing goes. It goes very far. Far to the point that, yes, even women are in contention about who they are and what they are, right? And that leads nowhere good. That makes your society sort of rot away at the core level. And listen, if you all think this thing ain't bad, you should do some research on other societies that have reached this type of level with all these debates.
Well,
it's bad.
Look at the Roman society where they had great orgies and great parties and what sexuality was.
The Greek society, by the time they reached the pinnacle of their neoclassical era, there was a wide habit of engaging in relationship with young boys. I forgot the name for it, but they had a name for it. That was the preference of well-educated, high-status men.
Yeah, I forget the name of it. I think it's named after one of the Greek gods. I forget the name. It's named after one of the Greek gods.
As now, Jah asks, if the Western world falls, who do we think is gonna swoop in? Now, I don't know. That's a hard question to answer because the Western world isn't one city like Rome for the most part. It's kind of very spread out. So it may not necessarily fall into something like one group takes over. There could be very likely a balkanization, like as the Soviet Empire fell. It's not that one group took over, but it's split into many different groups, and that has happened across other empires too. They can no longer retain that cohesiveness, so they split into smaller groups that are willing to take it over in certain areas. As for Europe, there seems to be the possibility that the Arab world is having a stronger influence on Europe, because the Arab world doesn't have the shame in which it looks at itself that many of the Europeans do. The Arabs had slaves, they colonized a lot. Listen, Arabia, the Arabs were one small group from Arabia. Their language and religion is spread across the majority of Africa, much of Central Asia, and all over Europe. How do you think that happened? The same way the Europeans did it, but just they don't have the shame looking back at their history. Always, oh no, we were so bad about that. No, they kind of look back with that with pride, and they aren't trying to stop. So some of that may be where it goes next, and also the Arab world is multiplying. Like for one, the question of some of the more modern, a-religious, atheistic Western world, liberal, progressive mindset, that may die out because by and large those people don't have children. And the people with the most children generally win. That's how it usually goes. If you make 5 children and grow up your 5 children in your belief, then you have 5 new people added to your belief. While if the other people aborted their children, or the one child they had, they turned them into a transgender person who cannot have any grandchildren for them, then they kind of kill that whole question all on their own. So, as to who would take over, I don't know. But 100%, things won't be as easy. 100%.
But just to comment on one thing, in honor and in a reflection of history, and Abraham Lincoln, and I think it's Abraham Lincoln, when he said the tree of limitation we refresh from time to time with the bloods of patriots.
Yes.
Right? What he was speaking about there is that freedom comes at a price. And in a society that exists now, it's not we are in the battle of ideas and attention. And we must be careful what we give our attention to and what ideas we are promoting, because we are in a society where people don't have to be responsible for what they put on the internet or what they put out there, because they can hide behind all kind of falsehood. And this is where principles and standards must be made clear.
And you know, I'm glad you say that, Room, because it pulled me into the other side of principle that I was going to talk about tonight, where it's not just dealing with these celebrities and relationship, man and woman kind of business. It's dealing with, in Trinidad and Tobago, the denominational schools. Our Concordat. Hey, somebody pet back in there. Our Concordat. Because it seems right now our Concordat is in a bit of difficulty. It's fighting a battle. And I think I think we are seeing a bit of principles being lost there, and that's why this is happening. I was speaking about this last Friday, but I saw Dr. Gopi Singh, authority of denominational boards being eroded. Former Education Minister Dr. Tim Gopi Singh is calling on the heads of various denominational boards to act swiftly to prevent the government from eroding and eventually destroying their authority and autonomy to manage the schools under their purview. Gopi Singh, in a press release over the weekend, said the threat to the denominational board's authority, as prescribed and laid out in the decades-old Concordat, comes in the form of Cabinet receiving a report from a committee which it commissioned last year to review and recommend changes to the conduct of SCA exams and the Concordat. You see, here's the problem that I think we are seeing right now with this Concordat business. We are not tackling this on a principled basis. Decades old, aged, is not a good reason to get rid of something. Age is not what determines the usefulness of something. You see, for a principle to be a principle, it needs to be unchanging. If a principle could change, then it's not a principle. You see, principles form the foundation. They form what is fundamental. Fundamental basically means foundation. We have to be able to have a foundation on which to build. If you change your principle, like let's think about this. If we are on the 25th story and we are now going to change our principles, all of the other buildings built, all of the other stories built upon the foundation is going to crumble. So, yes, Rome.
I think you're missing a very important point. And as a child of history, when Abraham Lincoln was giving his speech, he said, "It's only if the republic is informed." Right? And what I'm going to say is this: I'm quite sure. Quite personally, a lot of people from the age of 35 don't have no idea what the Concordat is. So they have no idea what is being eroded. So you have a public that is less informed. You have a public that is not. This is one of the largest digress away from religion or structured religion that we have ever seen, because everybody believes they are free and a liberated thinker. So if you don't have people, and if you realize the conversation around the Concordat is everybody's over 60 and 55.
Yep.
55 to 60.
Yep.
So it's only a matter of time before it become an old instrument, and the only reason to move it is because it's old.
Yep.
The old heads fighting for it. And that's what I'm talking about. An uninformed population is an easily manipulated population.
Rome,
so
100%.
The principles of discussing the importance of having principles on defending the Concordat in terms of each denominational schools having the right to pass on their traditions, their religions to their kin. We need to have an informed public understanding what is the Concordat.
100%. Yeah, what's that?
Rome is not even just that, it's that the younger people don't even want to be informed. Like I regularly hear, what I regularly hear a lot is that, yeah, the young people we don't care about that. We don't care about politics. We don't care about this. We don't care about that. I think in the past, I said, listen, y'all are idiots. Y'all is plain talk bad manner. No, because I realize when if you want to entrap a population into a rat race, just do inform them and make them don't care about it. Literally, your elites will always run the show, and the rats in the box will always run around in the box trying to find cheese, not knowing where to get out. So no, I'm a young person too, so the thing about it is this: is the young people don't even care to be informed. They don't give a damn about the thing. So it's all about the fact that they don't even care about it, and they're willing to talk this neoliberal nonsense about no, we have the superior ideas as the young people because we are energized and we are better and superior than the past generations. Listen, you know how a society operates and functions like a well-oiled machine? The old population and the young population work together to get the thing running and going.
Correct.
It never seeks to make a society can never progress if only the young people believe they're superior or the old people just want to stick in the area where they're supposed to stick in. That's crazy.
The way how that's supposed to work is it's supposed to have some contention between young and old. The old trying to keep the old ways so that the old ways that work stick, and the young attempting to figure out ways for the new ways to get in there so the new ways that work better go. And I saw that Gerard said ergonomics, where you make the machine to fit the man. But that's when you're dealing with machines and chairs and such. You don't work ideologies like that. Ideologies are created and structured in a way to make man fit the ideology. That's the purpose of ideologies, to discipline man into a certain social and cultural normative behavior. So you cannot switch those ideologies to fit the man. That's how you get principles that are wavy, and you can never be a principled person. You see, the problem we are having here is we are looking at this concordat and are saying that, we determine that this part of the rules held by these ancient organizations don't hold up to our modern sensibilities. So we demand that they change. So how are we going to change it? Well, we are going to demand that the government changes it. But here's the thing. I was reading back when the books were hitting the schools, R.C. Archbishop said governments need our consent for sex education in denominational schools. Roman Catholic Bishop Jason Gordon has said, as long as the Concordat stands, curricular and comprehensive sex education cannot be introduced into denominational schools without the consent of the denomination. And you see, much of Trinidad, because we are more conservative regarding the LGBTQ2IAP plus movement, much of us are in agreement with this. But we don't understand that if we tell the government, okay, government, you have the permission to bypass the Concordat when you determine that a social move is more ergonomic, it's going to fit the modern man better, you have the authority to bypass the Concordat. What do you think is going to happen with even something like the LGBTQIA2 plus P movement? What is going to happen when that social pressure becomes so strong on the government that the ergonomics becomes something that they cannot deny anymore? Would the Concordat be able to hold that back?
I don't like to interrupt here. Two things, Nathan. 90% of the government ministers went to denominational schools. And we haven't truly understand that the freedom of expression, the freedom of right and the pursuit of liberty is something that is intricate to every single human being in terms of how I express my religion, how I express what I want. And second to that, all throughout the world, it has always had private schools that gives you a high caliber of performing individuals. So when we have a government who trying to dumb down the quality of education that comes from certain organizations, I have serious concern with what the government is trying to do to the people on a long-term basis. Because if the denominational schools say, here what, if you look at how many scholarship and degrees was given and the schools that it was given to, you will understand that 90% of the schools that it was given to were denominational schools, whether it be Hindu, Muslim, or whatever religion. So we are seeing excellence because these people have principle, structure, and strategy that has taken them through for centuries, and for some of them millenniums. And we now come in with our liberal thinking and believe that everyone should be accepted, which is absolute foolishness.
I saw Gerard talking about the Concordat doesn't trump the Constitution. the Concordat isn't outside of the Constitution. That's why no one, up until now, no one can sue to undo the Concordat. If you think the Concordat is unconstitutional, carry it for judicial review. I assure you, you will lose every cent you spend chasing it down. To act like this is a... Gerard, I find sometimes you act like you don't understand the matter at hand. This is not a constitutional matter. The government didn't come up and state that the Concordat is unconstitutional. The minister said it, I quoted this Friday. She said that they are changing it to match the current social norms, beliefs, and views. And they are basing that on changing global and regional trends. That has nothing to do with the Constitution, Gerard. Like, give us an ease up on that. Yeah, Ronnie. Ronnie was next.
That's not go. Before say one thing.
Yeah.
All the Concordat is an arrangement between how the government interact with the denominational schools, because there's a separation between church and state. That's
Correct.
all the Concordat is.
Correct.
Because they are free to express their religion and they are free to teach their children outside of the government. So they can create private schools and stop all the government children from coming for their schools. So the Concordat can exist with or without the government.
Yep. Yeah, Ronnie.
Okay, hi, good night.
Somebody else named Ronnie.
Anyway, sorry, just let me go. Anyway, we have come again to talk about this nonsense about private schools, not private, denominational board schools, or however you would like to call it. And time and time again, we love bringing in these things that don't matter. These things that we don't care about. I'm talking about the sex ed thing, and I think a lot of people who are in these denominational schools could care really less about the hairstyle thing. I mean, once the school starts taking drastic measures against it, you'll see everybody cut their hair because they want to be in the school. So the first person to get suspended or expelled from a school for having long hair will be the last person, right? And I believe that the school should carry out its beliefs in whatever way possible, whatever. But I just wanted to say, a few weeks ago, we'll be in graduation season and whatever. So I, of course, would have been looking at some of the videos and stuff. And I saw one video in particular from a regular secondary school student. And my lady won best dress in her graduation and spelled one O-N-E. And we are sitting here talking about all of these things that are not important. I want to know how, because it's not just her. When I was in school, we found a journal from one of our classmates. I was in Form 5, I will not lie. And in this journal, my girl could not spell. So I think we need to go back to what it is about. School is for learning to read, write, count, whatever. Let me do them thing. And when we start passing these things, then we could kind of talk about all the other things that people want to introduce. But for me, right now, I think it's very important that we get the basics right. Learn what you're actually supposed to be learning in school. And we can talk about the rest from after, if you can get that right. Another point.
Right.
To talk about what Rennie was talking about. What we're seeing right now and witnessing is just a total breakdown of family. There is no family to really help and guide children. So things that we are now asking the schools to do, or things that we want the schools to do, we want the government to implement, is things that the family is supposed to be doing. So I think more important to talking about what the school needs to introduce, we need to talk about how can, if possible, society change its culture and start making family more important again. That's my point.
Correct. And I agree. We need family-oriented policies. Eastern Europe is doing a lot of that, like Poland, Hungary, some of those very right-wing Eastern European Catholic countries, etc. They're doing a lot of that. Like if you have a family over in some of those countries, you have basically no tax to pay and all of that. They're doing a lot of this. I saw Gerard saying that no institution can discriminate. That is actually kind of simply and foolishly wrong. The purpose of these schools is to discriminate. They discriminate by grades. The SEA is a discriminatory exam. You're saying no one can discriminate, but as Totep rightfully asked, it's discriminate based on what? These schools, they are male schools. They are boys' schools. They discriminate based on sex. Are you, with your daughter, going to sue Prez Sandu and say, are you discriminating against my daughter? My daughter must be able to go to your school. You see, you are the people in society that I don't want in my society. If you want government to control everything, go live in Venezuela, go live in China, go live in North Korea, go live in Cuba, and leave our free country alone. Let people in our free country live as they freely please. Let institutions choose their rules. You want one authoritarian regime, and Gerard, you need to watch this, bro. You are seriously authoritarian, scarily authoritarian. Your aim is always for one government to control everything through society. You are the one wishing that our government go to Venezuela and bring in 750,000 Venezuelans based on government mandate like that. Authoritarian business. These are some scary stuff. And
you know what's funny?
Go ahead, Rota.
You know what's funny? Gerard will be the same person who would say that affirmative action is the most constitutional statute
Preach, Rota.
of American society. And you know what? You know what affirmative action does? Discriminates against race. You know it's funny to me. And listen, I have no problem. Like I regularly say this. Enact your nepotism wherever. I don't agree with government nepotism. That leads to heavy corruption. But enact your nepotism anywhere in private sector life. Enact it. Do what you want with it. But don't come here and say you want discrimination here for the blacks, but the Concordat can't discriminate. This is ridiculous stuff, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And expecting your government, your big daddy government, big daddy, you understand what I'm saying? You love him. You want your big daddy the government to come and step his big 18-foot boot on the necks of schools and everybody else. But when it comes to your doorstep to kick down your door with the 18 steel tip boot, here you know, oh God, why? No. Too much government power. But you don't get any power.
Principle.
Gerard, do you know who is Mao? Mao is a man who stepped on the necks of all Chinese
Hotep, you are forgetting Gerard said in a conversation that Mao succeeded. You forget this. Don't forget the conversations we had. Gerard told us he believes Mao succeeded because in the end, after Mao lost power, China became successful after they enacted free market policies. Mao, with his 100 million murders, was successful. Gerard is a scary person. Gerard, I'm sorry, but I want you as far away from power as humanly possible. Anyone who thinks they have the knowledge, or the scientists, you see that other one, the science trademark are registered copyright, the science TM, they have the knowledge on how best to run all human societies. That is the basis upon most human deaths ever. The number one cause of death for humans beyond disease, I like to quote this regularly, is something called democide, where your government, not an enemy government, your own government kills you. That's the number one. Well, beside disease, and I mean disease you can understand. Beside disease, government kills the most people. So why would I give the number one cause of human death? Why would I give them more power over me. TikTok says, I'm sure all of us remember our history starting with Christopher Columbus. I don't know who is the us you refer to, but I don't, that's not what I recall. I regularly speak about history far beyond Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus is a tiny blip in general history. Who is more evil, Hitler or Leopold? I don't know how you determine something like that. They're both evil.
Exactly.
I won't say Leopold is more evil than Hitler. If you're talking about death tolls, etc., you could talk about that. If you're talking about consequences of the action, you could talk about that. But to say one is more evil than the other, then the only reason you're saying that is because you have in-group bias. So because someone killed people that may have been distantly related to you, that makes them more evil than the person who killed people who may not have been distantly related to you. Nah, I don't say that. I don't judge them on that basis like that.
No, I mean, yes, I have in-group bias, but I'm speaking specifically to total deaths, like, because that's where you could really quantify the thing. You can't really quantify evil in the sense of just, like, if a man has been evil, and, you know what I'm saying, so the quantification of the evil that you could really do is
Gerard, you're misusing these terms. Leopold could not have been a capitalist if he was a king. He was a monarchist. By definition, there's already a term for the system he ran. A monarchy.
I would like to say something. Go ahead, my dear. Sorry, my apologies. Go right ahead.
I was trying to say, Island girl, want to talk?
Island girl, go right ahead.
Oh, well, I come in and say good night and I get buff, so I didn't know if I could have talked after. I'm sorry. I was just waiting to say good night, and then I was like, somebody else named Rooney. I was like, okay, so I just shut up. I'm sorry. I was waiting a really long time. Yes, I can understand that. I came in at the point where we were discussing the concordance and governance.
So you can go back to that if you want.
The concordance. So, I think that my thoughts are always at this point, it's always around this time when SCA results come out, that the concordant, every single year, like a norm, the concordant comes up for discussion every single year. Since I write common entrance, how much? Many years ago. But there's a few points I want to touch on because, first of all, right, if anybody has seen this movie Voyagers, right, it's a very telling movie about the human psychosis, especially in the sense of people's propensity to evil, right? Now, naturally, my personal belief is that naturally people are not evil to their core because they want to be evil, right? So, with that being said, I want to just address the whole concept of who is more evil, Hitler or Leopold, right? I think none of those people believe that they are evil. They think that what they are doing is furthering a good cause, right? Just like, and we as humans, we use these quote-unquote good causes to justify evil action.
That is Gerard.
Right? So, yes, it's what is worrying with me about Gerard, because I was reading his comments too, so that's why I wasn't really bothering to talk, but what was really concerning to me is there are people that think like this. But the problem is this, right? You think like this in the current circumstance, but if the opposite of what you like has that kind of power, right? You won't have the same energy in going forward. So then, does that make you a hypocrite?
You know, Island Girl, you saying that there, and you weren't even here at the start of the live to know what the live was entitled. The live was entitled Principle. For that very same reason, so often we see people want something and they don't understand the principle behind what they want. If your principle is that the government can decide what is best for me, then bear in mind it's not always going to be your more loved your more loved government. That's not how it works. And to say what I agree with what you're saying about the persons thinking they're doing it for the good. There is some of that, but I do believe they are evil people. Evil in the sense, here's what I would consider evil, as in malevolence, where you see humans have the ability of you wanna come back? We're talking about evil. You stay and sleep. Humans have the ability of empathy. We, because of our consciousness, we are consciously able to understand that when I do this action, it's going to affect this person in this way. So we are able to consciously craft an action that is going to harm somebody, knowing it's going to harm them, and purposefully hurting them. So when you look at, for example, the Nazi concentration camps, a lot of what was done there was without a purpose beyond torturing and causing maximum pain to the people there. That wasn't on the basis of trying to do something good in their mind. There was evil in that. And I do believe that humans are evil. And I think that oftentimes humans who think there are no evil humans, when they encounter an actual evil human, it scars them and becomes tragedy for life. Because many of us don't understand there are some people that are legitimately evil. And this is even separate from the point of, you see, the idea that my good imparted across everyone else is going to be a good idea could create for evil situations, and I agree with that. And that's why I am afraid of Gerard, because thinking that you could do something good and help all of these people oftentimes creates disaster. But there are some people, knowing very well they are going to cause pain, set out to cause pain.
Right, and let me say this. The importance of the denominational school and the Concordat is this, and I've learned this throughout history. There's no such thing as objectively good or objectively evil, right? Or different, because in terms of tabula rasa, we are all a blank slate and we are selfish human beings, and we act according to our needs and our desires on a basic survival level, right? So is the concept now of structured religion, structured belief, structured principle systems that come from religion that gives us an idea or some enlightenment of what good and evil may or may not be. And it gives us KPIs or key performance indicators in terms of, this may be considered evil or this may be considered good, because even our consciousness is learned consciousness to a very large extent.
Here's the thing. I believe in objective good and evil, because I think if you don't believe in that, you're evil. That's my basis. But I understand that objective good and evil may not be obvious to everyone. And I understand that people's view of objective good and evil would be based upon their principled, fundamental views. And that's why I have an opinion. My opinion is that these principled fundamental views should not be in the realm and control of the government and state, because the government and state, is too much in flux. Here's the thing. I am not a Hindu, but I would prefer someone's basis for what they think is wrong, right, evil, good be based in a religious basis of Hinduism than on the state's view of it. That's my view, because I think religions have dealt with these philosophical questions for thousands of years. They have principled views on this. And I have looked at history, and when you pull the realm of evil, of good, of morality outside of this religious realm and you put it into the control of the state, then you have politicians, Rowley, Kamla, Faris, Munilal. They are the people that are the arbiters of truth, righteousness, evil, good, bad. I do not want that. You see, when you follow a religion, someone who is following Hinduism, at least I could go read a book and speak to people to see what is the basis of your morality. If the state is controlling your morality, every election change is a different morality. That's why in something like the Concordat, in something like the hair rules, you want the hair rules to change, you don't go ask Dr. Nyan Gadsby Dali. You go to the Trinity Board and you have a discussion with the Trinity Board and see if they are willing to relax those rules. Because that's where the responsibility lies for controlling that sector of society.
I'm not just responsible.
No, but that's the...
Hold on. A lot of people use the word responsibility. I see it's not just responsibility, but it's freedom of expression of one religion. That's enshrined in every constitution. That's enshrined in the United Nations fundamental right of freedom of expression. So if every concordat is come under that religious body, and you say I have a right and I have a freedom to express my religion, and it's decided to be separate from the state, and then you come and tell me, well, all of a sudden I never want to change. Hey boy, it's like with a very crazy fool.
Well, this reminds me what you were
saying
about. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I can talk?
Yeah. Coach, I would go next.
So when you were mentioning Rowley, Kamla, and they being their idea, they being the fundamental voice of what is right or what is wrong, it goes all the way back to the monarchy of the kings when it was in England. Because I was reading recently about the head of the king or the queen of England is supposed to be the head of the church.
Yeah, the Anglican Church.
And when this one, and I can't remember right now because I'm old, but when he wanted to get divorced,
Henry.
he had to leave when Henry wanted to get divorced, he had to leave the church and go into and correct, because it was not allowed, and he was at least the head of the church. So the thing is, right, and again, you see these fanatical type of views. We see it coming up around election season too, because I will never forget this person saying, well, if Kamala win election, and this was in around 2010 side, we will all have to become Hindus, and they want all of us to start to speak Hindi and practice Hinduism and stuff. And what is scary is, and I mean, Sarah just remind me of that. It's like people believe this garbage. There are people who believe this garbage. And the thing is, if you read the book 1984, or at least watch the movie, there's one line in that movie that always stuck with me after I read the book the first time I watched the movie. They announced in the cafeteria that, guess what? We're getting an increase to 0.5 pounds of chocolate today. And the protagonist in the book was like, is it just me, or were we getting 1 pound of chocolate last week? But you weren't allowed to think.
Yep.
In the book, it was illegal to think, right? And that stuck with me for the last maybe 15 years since I read that book. And I see it playing out in politics every single day. And I also see it playing out when you have these types of social issues coming out. Because I'm wondering to myself, am I alone and people not seeing these trends, and they're not seeing how it keeps playing back and what is happening to our memories? Because we want freedom to practice our religion, but we want other people to be denied that freedom so that we can be allowed to partake in what they have. And it's like a perpetual circle of, I want freedom to eat what you are cooking, but I also want to control what you are cooking so that I can have the freedom to enjoy it.
You're right.
Your freedom to cook what you want.
You're right. Right before Trini Hotep goes next, I said this on Twitter sometime recently that it seems to me that hair and melanin is a dog whistle for black people the world over. And dog whistles, for those who don't know what dog whistles are, those are the high-pitched whistles that people can't hear, but if you blow it, all the dogs in the vicinity start to bark because they hear it and they react and respond to it. And regularly people refer to it when they're talking about racial talk in politics. So in Trinidad and Tobago, when people talk about the cane field and the we and the us and the carony and our ancestors who toiled in the cane field, they aren't talking about all Trinidadians when you hear somebody say that. It's a dog whistle for a racial group they're trying to talk. And we see that in the black side too, that anytime somebody whispers something about hair or color, all of a sudden many black people, the critical thinking falls through their ears, and no more can they think. Yes sir, who dares speak about melanin? Who dares speak about hair? Yes, whatever is in the view of melanin and hair, I agree with it. I agree with it. I agree with it. And many black people are being led like this around the world through political avenues all around. You're being led 90% to voting for one party based on melanin and hair, having no consideration for anything else. Let me hear you, Hotep.
Yeah, man. This thing really gets scary, and before I jump into my thing, this corner thing, it really bugs me the way how people talk about separation of church and state, right? The church have no business in the state, but somehow, somewhere, the state always have a business in the church. The state can walk anywhere they want to go, walk in the church, walk out the church, stand by the church, piss on the church door, shut down the church. I don't understand, but it's real prevalent in the West, but it's everywhere basically.
Because of the death of God, Hotep, many people think that the importance of religion and church has exited, so state is all that is left.
Yeah, but this ever presence of like the overshadow of the government, the state, is ever present. Like people want it so bad, and here's the thing, man. I was down reference 1984, but the thing is this is, you all know how scary it gets when your government has overarching control over the whole country. That's crazy. You get the Soviet Union out of that. You get the fall of the Berlin Wall. I don't think Trinidad and Tobago people understand what it is to live to live what in desolation of a fall of a Berlin Wall. Because
one of the stories, you continue, Hotep, as you say that one of the things I remember from Soviet Russia was during one of the mass starvation times, what they call that, I forget the name of that when they were starving out a whole lot of Ukrainians, they actually banned the word starvation. So you were starving, but you could not use the word starvation because the government banned the use of that term. That's what happens when the government determines what is truth. So you are starving, but the truth is you are surviving.
Oh, yeah, that is scary. Like, I don't think Trini people don't want to live in a post-Berlin Wall. You all don't understand how people were starving, children were starving. You see that 5 cents a day Africa thing, which is very racial, by the way. That's what happens in the middle of a post-Berlin Wall. You know something? The oligarchs they eat cake, The oligarchs eat cake and steak while you out there in the road trying to get a morsel of corn, a kennel of corn. You know what's funny? People like Gerard love this daddy government. The daddy government thing kills me a lot, and America does this a lot. And the only thing that's deterring the American government from becoming a communist China government is the Constitution and the federalism. Like, that's the only thing stopping it.
And rail guns.
And rail guns. Because if that federalism and Second Amendment falls down tomorrow, America will become a hellscape of communism China. Listen, you see how they want to talk about let's ban the word breastfeed. No, Americans think it's nice. That's not nice. When you call women's private parts bonus holes, that's how you get mass destruction. Alright, okay, alright.
So I went viral, I went viral because I found a really nice video of this woman, and they actually did some transgender person. They found that Aretha Franklin's song "Natural Woman" is offensive because a natural woman does not exist. All I did was duet the video to bring awareness to what this woman was saying. And as of today, I have like close to 250,000 views. TikTok, email, I got 15,000 likes just by duetting the video, because they go on clear now. They go on clear. And I just made a video about this today. At one point in time in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up, right? There was a epidemic, I have to say, with these red band maxi drivers, and a lot of young schoolgirls. I'm not the only one that knows these stories. If they get in a loan in a maxi with them, these maxi drivers used to like to pull out the private parts and show these to the young ladies. In the 2010s, when social media was now becoming a thing, like a big thing, the amount of unsolicited dick pics that I would have received in my inbox, it was disgusting and scary and very, very, I mean, as a young woman. And now, we've seemed to have forgotten that is actually a kink and a perversion, and allowing men into women's restrooms and into the changing rooms of the athletes to flash them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this Leah Thomas, right? Somebody went in on her Facebook and her social media and saw her post basically about these types of perverted things.
AGP. You see, my problem with a lot of these things, as you're rightfully saying, it's dishonesty, and that's why I don't trust the science team, because a lot of these things were studied long before. We had established mental disorders on nearly everything in the long list of the LGBTQIA2+, etc., 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 etc. Yes, Gerard, we are still talking about policy, because you are saying this is hyperbole when it is happening. You know, this, I find this so ridiculous. Like yes, John Money, the leftist view is that we should have the government control everything, and then when people point out, look what happens when the government controls everything, you say, no, that does not happen, that's exaggerated. But it did happen. But you know, no, that wasn't the real communism. When I do communism, it's going to be more moral, upstanding communism. Well, here's the thing, I don't trust you. Because everyone who said that, give us more power and we will do it differently, they have done the same thing. So you can't say it's hyperbole, it's exaggeration, when we are literally seeing what allowing the government to control those things does. There are societies that have done what you propose. One person would have to come down for you to come up. There are already four. Ronnie, you next.
Okay, good. So I wanted to come on the dog whistles thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had a friend, a very good friend of mine, who she that dog whistle is real fishy. I don't know. She had a few octaves above it, so she heard it before it even. She heard the chain on the dog whistle before they even whistle. So during this whole Trinity thing, she went in and she was telling me, you know what, I went to Trinity. Well, she did Form 6 in Trinity. I went to Trinity, so I know for a fact. So I would have asked her, before I even finished, send my cousin a nice voice note kind of person. If I finish my voice, my girl message me and let me know, I am not listening to that. And she never listens to it. And it's like, you're not even willing to have the conversation about it. But yet you're willing to be so angry. Mm-hmm. You're not willing to learn anything. But you have this looks like me. So I always try to have that conversation. I hate the whole is we against them and them don't like we and that kind of thing. I don't like that. So I try to have conversations with my friends to always just keep an open mind when things happen, you know? It always have more. Anyway, so one thing, she and this friend in particular has is when people don't like her, the first thing she always says is my skin or is my hair. They always talking about my hair or they always talking about skin. And when I was in school, from my experience, which is how I am the person who I am today, when I was in school, I knew I had real internal issues, right? So when I would always think, okay, so somebody talking about me or somebody don't like me, so the first thing I would do is talk about them or not like them. And it's just a defense mechanism, right? And it's really just low self-esteem. And the only way to kind of come above that, you have to look past yourself. And it's a form of narcissism as well, right? Because
I was going to say that. It is.
So highly of yourself that every single person walking on the street is looking at you. And it's like, how much people are walking on the street you look at? And then think how much of them look at you. It's not much. When you're talking about everybody who walking, they're studying, they had a building to pay, they had to go and get a car, don't buy them. Nobody's talking about you now. So, a lot of people, especially black people, have to take themselves out of things and they're forming this narcissistic. After COVID, we have developed the worst set of mental illnesses ever. And it just happened so because we sat on TikTok for 2 years and watched people talk about their mental illnesses. All of a sudden, everybody OCD, everybody ADHD, everybody autistic, everybody everybody trans. The body dysmorphia was a mental illness, and now it is a social contagion. Everybody is doing it. It's just becoming like social cookie points. So it's like, come on.
Really?
Somebody was important.
I the type of person, I tend to be very blunt, right?
I know.
There's a couple things with me. We live in a society where victimhood is now the accepted form of communication, where there's no objective truth, where everything is subjective based on how I feel and based on how I choose to express myself today. In a society like that, you're going to have a lot of illness, and that is quite evident. By every 2 corners is a pharmacy and a bar. And that's a reflection of how sick a society is. That's how you measure the health of a society. And because we are in a society that where everyone feels and they become. And that is a problem because it leaves no objective truth. And where there's no objective truth, there's only masking of what we feel, because tomorrow I can feel a different way and it becomes the truth of tomorrow. And then I label it as being discriminative, because in order for me to get a job, I need 5 safety passes. That's a form of discrimination. In order for me to exist in some societies, I need to wear clothes. So people in this society and how we interact, there's no hard truth. There is only everybody must get a medal because everybody passed.
Yeah, and as Island Girl spoke about with King Henry and the formation of the Church of England in the first place. I'm not knocking Anglicans with the Church of England, your religion, your business. But the formation of the church, well, it shows what the importance of religion has been in society throughout. You see, even in societies where there were monarchs, what religion did was it established a moral order that was even above the monarch. So, yeah, there was the king, but there was a God even above that. There was something that existed to hold everyone within the moral suite. And when you don't live in an authoritarian country, you could underestimate how important those things are. But when you live in a country where someone could just say this and it happens, you kind of hope that there is some morality that would exist above someone's simple say-so. So the King of England existed underneath the morality of the church. So even though he wanted to leave a woman, he had to get permission from a church, and he didn't want to do that, so he did the whole separation business and etc., etc., etc. But that shows something. Yeah, Hotep?
No, but that's the thing, right? That's the thing. That's why if people really examine monarchies for the most part, right? That's why they say that, God entrusts them to lead the people. God give them the right to lead the people, and so on and so forth. So forth. Obviously, how that transmits to how monarchs rule a country is different, but that's generally what is taught about. But this thing for me, like Gerard talking about hyperbole. You see, this communism a la carte, this socialism a la carte that you want to implement in the society, that's not how things work. Governments don't work on a la carte. Government work on as much power as they can get. They want it. All governments move like that. All elites move like that. That's how it works. You see, this is why I say for the most part, and yes, some people might disagree, nothing is really new under the sun in terms of governance, of government. It's just changed hand and the name sort of switch. But the people who rule still want to rule in that fashion, right? Of course, more hyperbole. But yes, a president still operates like a king. He wants to have absolute power as much as possible. You see, if America allows their president to make all executive decisions on the basis of he's the president, he's not going to say, no. We will keep Congress and we will keep the judicial system. I cannot make... No, he would quickly say, yes, I think I have the right and the moral statute to rule like that. He would say instantly, come on guys, let's not even lie to ourselves. Listen, if you give Kitos more power today, Kitos is going to rule like a king on a golf course. Something he's going to go out and golf, and tomorrow he's going to write policy to damn you to hell. You know what's funny? You're really you know what? Right now.
Who willing to give Gerard a space? He says his voice is a voice of reason. Now, while somebody probably waits to give you a space, I would say, Gerard, I'm not sure if everyone would agree that your voice is the voice of reason. You said to bring 750,000 Venezuelans to cure our population problems. And you see, this is the problem. You would consider your view reasonable. I would consider your view unreasonable. I would prefer a society where your view isn't mandated across the society, but neither is my view. The problem between us is the only one that wants their view mandated and the other person is you. And you say hyperbole, but that is literally a lie. Hyperbole means exaggeration. It is not an exaggeration to say that when governments get control over day-to-day policy for social living, that they do it on people's lives, because it happens. Like, Jared, I think we have to work on word and meaning. You cannot use the word hyperbole and it isn't like the word has a meaning. There's a meme from some of those old shows where a guy watches the next day and he's like, I don't think you really know what that word means. And you're giving me that feel here because it's not hyperbole, but literally by definition, it's not an exaggeration if it is something that has happened and is happening. Now, as I said, I'm not going to bring down anyone. There are 4 people there. If someone is willing to give the voice of reason a way, well.
I think the because I don't think you know what I don't think you think you know what that is.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned that, so sorry. Someone's gonna stop?
Go ahead.
Hold on. Nathan, you can bring me down and give the voice of reasoning. Who have a new urban dictionary for meaning of words to go?
Alright, well, just come down there room and I'll bring him up. You have to come down. I can't bring you down. You would have to come down.
So at the top right hand corner, it have like a number and have an X. I think if you press there, you come down.
But Nathan and others, one thing I realized, well, last night I couldn't sleep because all I was sick and thing. I was on People Live on the US of A Live. You know that is there. Anyway, and the young man who was
Ronnie,
live.
Gerard, give me a little mute there, bro. Gerard, give me a little quick mute there, bro.
But Gerard, and I couldn't.
Gerard is sounding like you're in the line, boy.
Yeah,
Ronnie.
So he was talking about, and all of these people life there's be the same structure. Atheist, this trans woman and woman, trans children, blah 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 blah. Come up if you disagree, kind of thing, right? So last night, this morning, like talking 4 o'clock in the morning, right? This man comes and he's talking and he's like, oh well, we have to use is not the meaning of the word is not how we have to use it. We could use a word and make it mean that way. And I'm like, what? That is not how it works. We use a word because it means a particular thing. We don't use words and then make it mean what we say. That's not how words work. Anyway, that was crazy. I think a lot of these young people, and I think Gerard would fall into this. Gerard probably is like, Gerard will come and say, well, and then when I say it, he'll say, oh, that's a whole. You know, this kind of way is like. That define a chair thing. That me and Nathan was on Twitter with that define a chair thing, and that's ridiculous.
So my mother used to tell me when I was growing up, she was like, "You not normal and okay," and my retort will always be, "Define normal."
Yeah. Correct. Yo, Ria, it's been a while. What going on? It seems Ria. It seems like someone here took your place on being the voice of reason, as some would call it, Gil. And as Trini Hotep said there about the government working, wow, that's surprising. As Hotep said there, I saw on Twitter, and people were talking about the difficulty in defining women. And because if you even look at a chair, it's difficult to define. And the thing is, they are technically right, because if you say a chair is a four-legged piece of furniture used to sit on, well, you could have a four-legged table that is short enough that you could sit on. And yes, there are blurry edges to definitions, but because there are blurry edges doesn't mean that you can't define the core of something. So when people talk about an adult human female or someone who could potentially reproduce, well, not all women could reproduce, not all women could make, yes, okay, in principle, all women have the capability biologically to potentially reproduce. Yes, there are blurry edges when they try to pinpoint every specific, but you could define the core of the matter. Yeah, Gerard, let's hear the voice of reason, bro. We ready?
Alright. In the first instance, from another device, the hyperbole is an exaggerated statement, not meant to be taken literally. Yeah, just reading the first definition that comes up. So, if we are having a conversation not about giving government, because what I started to hear was, we're giving government overarching control and we're reaching into everything and the government controlling everything. I'm like, that's not what we're discussing though. And then I hear, hey, they're trying to blur the line between man and woman and this and that and here and thing. I'm like, but that's not what we're discussing though. And then that is a Leopold and I'm like, but that's not what we're discussing though. What we are discussing, what I thought the conversation was about was the concordance, an agreement between the government and religious institutions in Trinidad and Tobago should not be allowed to evolve or be checked. bad job or a boys' school or a girls' school or whatever the case is.
What is the expressly unconstitutional act?
So where there are expressly unconstitutional
Like?
things happening in schools, and one of the expressly unconstitutional things that has happened in schools that has been challenged in court, for instance, is this issue of religious discrimination. You can't come here with a hijab. It's been tested in court. You can't come here with a ras. It's been tested in court. So what I am saying is, and I am not pro-alphabet. I am not here to say that people should walk around with pride flags. I am here to say that if the government does not protect the people from abuse, if the law is not above politics or personal belief, who can we depend on? And it's interesting that we got to the conversation about Nazi Germany, and somebody asked Leopold or Hitler. And I would say Leopold was just on shit. Hitler, let's say that the Germans had won the war. Hitler would have been able to point to this was a policy supported by the people. Hitler would have been able, and it was his defense, not his defense, but the Nazi regime's defense at the Nuremberg trials. We have a right to self-determination. We made a decision about how we want to run our country, and the Allies have no authority other than the authority by winning a war to come into our country and tell us how to administrate our affairs. We thought that the Jews were a problem. We thought that we wanted to have racial purity laws and those types of things. Those were political expressions that were not driven by Hitler. They were harnessed by Hitler. He harnessed the people.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Here to say is,
I understand what you're saying on that, Jared. But I think I understand, and in fact I agree that it wasn't brought on by Hitler. Hitler harnessed a sentiment that was going through Germany because of Weimar Germany, because of the consequences of World War One. I agree. Now I don't think that's really a separate thing from how I would judge their actions, because harnessing discontent to redirect it to murdering 8 million people is pretty evil nonetheless. But I understand what you are saying there. Here's where I have some discrepancy with what you're saying. You're basically promoting the civil rights law where there should be a law against discrimination in a country. Here's the thing. You know, I disagree with that law. I think people have a right to discriminate against people. And I think that law should even extend to racial discrimination too. I think if I want to go into a business place and somebody doesn't like my skin texture, skin color, hair texture, they should have a right to not want to sell me. That's their right. You see, here's the problem. As the name of this live, I saw Ria ask about what we're talking about. Principle. The reason I would say that is because of the principle. Right now, and you could call it hyperbole, but this is how we look at things to see what we expect in the future. We look at actions that were carried out similarly, see what became of it, and we could predict based on those actions what is going to happen based on what we do. So when we look into the United States and see their civil rights law, where they passed a law that it's illegal to discriminate based upon race, religion, sex, gender, sexual orientation, gender expression, gender identity, and you just see it keeps expanding until now you have those court cases going up to their Supreme Court, where now they must cut the civil rights law short because gay people are going to a baker who says he's a Christian and say, you know what, you have to bake me a cake that celebrates my wedding. And he is saying, well, this goes against my religion. And they say, no, you are discriminating against me. And they took him to court 3 or 4 times for that. A lady recently went to court for the same thing from the website perspective. And here's the thing. I think you should have the right to discriminate. I don't think the state's job is to jump in there and tell me I have to give my talent to anyone. That's my principled stance on it. So I would like to know, what is your principled stance there? Should the government be able to dictate how people deal with each other, or should they not? On a social side. Yeah, Ronnie.
One thing I wanted to add on that, right? Just like this, so I've been following this affirmative action being struck down thing, right? And much people are saying, well, no, black people can't get jobs here. Black people.
That sounds so racist to me. Eh?
And I am saying, if I go for a job at a place, right, and you refuse to hire me, I'm qualified, I have the experience or whatever, I meet your criteria, and you are not hiring me solely because I am black, that is wonderful for me to know. And I would be so happy to share that with all other people, for them to know that you don't hire black people, you don't like black people, and now it will be up to the market to decide if you should stay in business or not.
Ronnie?
This is where I have no problem with the affirmative action being struck down. I don't want you hiring me or putting me or placing me in a school just because you feel, oh well, black people wouldn't really get a fair shake, so we gotta do it for them. No.
I agree with you, Ronnie, and I know Hotep. This would be something that Hotep would be very knowledgeable and knowing his fare. This argument was actually counter to what some black people during the civil rights movement wanted, like Malcolm X. He did not want this anti-discriminatory business, you know. All he wanted was the ability for self-determination. When we build our Black Wall Street, when we create Tulsa, you do not come and burn it down. That's all we want. We do not need you to be forced to deal with us. That's not the thing. But yes, Gerard, I would like to know, what's your principled stance on this? Do you think that the government should be able to determine who people give their services to, such as in education, etc.?
Before I answer that question, I just want to point out something to everybody in this life, especially Rudy, that you have a deep misunderstanding about structural discrimination, institutional racism, and the underlying realities and the underlying wrongs.
Gerard, have you ever read any Thomas Sowell? Gerard, have you ever read any Thomas Sowell? Dr. Thomas Sowell, the black economist.
No.
Go read as much of him as possible, and then return and speak about the misunderstandings of racial discrimination, structural discrimination, etc. Because I could assure you, every writer that you speak about who speaks about structural discrimination, I have read them, I have listened. I've also seen the other side. It seems like you have not seen the other side. You've only seen one. Read the other side. See the actual history. See the evidence. And then maybe you would have a more nuanced view on it. But yes, if you could answer my question on government and state duty and role.
All right, and the answer is simple. The principal stand is, of course, you have the right to withhold service from who you want to withhold service to. I think that apart from being, it's proven to be illegal. We are even talking about illegal here. It's really douchey, in my opinion, to watch somebody who is different from you and obviously has an axe to grind as it relates to their rights in society, and watch them in the eye and tell you, us, I do really big cake for gay people and tell you know how they ask and come out the place. It's discourteous.
But should you have a right to be discourteous?
It is no. If this is the case, if your position, I think that you're looking for work, if your position, but you have all kind of reasons. You don't have to cite a reason. You just say, yo, I woke up, forget that now. But no, you make it a point to make somebody uncomfortable.
Oh my God.
Wait, let him finish. Yes, I did. Let him finish.
You're asking me for what my principles stand.
Yes, and I'm taking it in.
The law is already clear. You cannot discriminate against me based on my gender or my sexuality.
Actually, he lost. He won all of those cases, so the law is in his favor. But go on.
The law, okay, so I'm not withstanding because there have been some recent changes in the case law in the US.
Sure, you're wrong on that. But go on.
There are many more jurisdictions there.
No, the Supreme Court. That's the court over the whole land. It's not a matter of jurisdiction. It's the court with the jurisdiction for the entire land. He won all. So
England is another jurisdiction. The EU is another jurisdiction. Scandinavia is another jurisdiction.
well, if you're going down that road, space is another jurisdiction. But okay.
Just now. What I am saying is take away the jurisdiction and take away the jurisprudence, take away the legislation passed, and let's just ask ourselves,
Right.
as Gerard, how does a human behave? And my principal stance is regardless of my religious belief, regardless of my social belief, regardless of my disdain or lack thereof, I treat the person in front of me with respect. Sir, I can't help you. If I know personally, going and feel icky to me, like, yeah, boy, I'm going to make a big pride cake, or I'm going to do like Ravi B and make a dog plate for a man with it, to another man. Whatever it is, if I decide, yo, that's not for me, that's not for my business, maybe all my clients and them are Christian fundamentalists and I don't want to piss them off, I don't know. I am not going to, Gerard is not going to be discourteous or disrespect or call attention to somebody's characteristics, race, ethnicity, ethnic origin, religious persuasion, what have you. I am not going to call attention to those things and cite it as a reason that I am not going to serve you. I think that take away all the legal things, that is like a real asshole behavior, if you ask me.
All right.
I wouldn't do it, and my principle is I'm not on that. So, I go.
But Gerard, here's what, before you go, Hotep, here's the to make it a little more specific. On this instance, first of all, don't slander the baker's name because the baker didn't insult the people. The baker offered to give them one of his cakes. What he would not do is they wanted him to custom design a cake that endorsed them. And he said, I am not going to use my artistic talent to endorse something that I do not believe in. They went to him.
He was wrong.
Wait.
He was wrong.
What?
Then he was wrong.
So,
He should not have said that.
so wait. If a Satanist comes to you as a Christian and tells you, I want you to do Satan rules, you're going to do it for them, and if you don't do it, you're wrong?
What I am saying to you is
No, yes or no. I want a yes or no here. I want a yes or no here. If you don't do it.
You can't have a yes or no, sir. What I am
Well, you see, Gerard,
in this situation.
Gerard, you see the problem here.
Decline without creating
No, Gerard, you see the problem here. You see, no, the problem here is you are an unprincipled man. I want a yes or no because I want to know where your principle stands. It's not about each nitty-gritty and what you're going to do and if it offends anybody. I want to know the principle.
Sir, the answer is always, it depends. Always what you're talking about.
So the answer to everything is it depends. There's no principal answer to anything.
It always, it depends. And the point of the matter is I'm not doing that, but just because
Right. Well, Gerard, we have come to the bottom of this. Gerard, we have reached the conclusion of this matter. You have no principles. Everything is, it depends. So we cannot get a principle out of Gerard where we could see, well, this wait, let me finish, and then you will continue. Where we could see this principle carries out across this line. There is no principle because it always depends on each. It always depends on each situation. We cannot get a principle.
Nathan, I just told you what my principle is. Respect for people. I told you what my principle is.
What is respect? Respect for the baker would have meant if I know my belief goes against the baker's belief, I would not go and try to ask him 4 times to do something that's against his belief. That's respect.
And you know what the other respect is? The baker just said no thanks, I'm good.
And that's what he said. And they came back again and again and again each time. So here's the thing. You don't have a principle here. The principle of respect only goes in the direction that wait, let me finish. The principle here only goes in one direction. Only one person must have respect for the other. But if I know, because bear in mind, there were multiple bakers in that same city, they knew the baker's belief, they went and targeted him based on his belief. How is that not disrespectful? If I go with a pig, I raise a pig from a piglet, and I know there's a Muslim butcher as my neighbor, and I carry my pig by my Muslim butcher and tell my Muslim butcher, I want you to slaughter this pig and cut it into nice slabs for me to bake on the grill. Am I not being disrespectful to him?
Of course.
So how would it be disrespectful of him to tell me no? What you are telling me, Gerard, is that what you want is for the law to tell this Muslim butcher that he must slaughter and carve up this pig for me, and if he doesn't, he is discriminating and disrespectful against me.
And that's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly what you're saying.
That is patently, I'm telling you what is what I'm saying.
I have a question for you, Gerard. I have a question for you, Gerard. Just one question.
Yes, ma'am. No problem.
So you're saying that your principle is respect.
I tried, Ronnie. It's not working.
Right. And you're saying that they went to the baker and he disrespected the gay people.
What I am saying is...
No, it's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question.
Ma'am, you're speaking.
This is a yes or no question.
He won't answer yes or no because he doesn't want to be pinned down on principle. The name, for those looking on YouTube, for those of you looking on YouTube, the name of the live today is Principle, and we're seeing a good reason for that.
Well, okay.
I do not want to be, but do you want to understand my point or not?
Okay, whether you're understanding it or not, it have no bearing on the question. The question I'm asking...
I'm not yes or no. If it is
yes,
that what we're doing, let me come down and let somebody else do.
Well, I could do anything I want. This is not free country. It's not guaranteed to be able to do what you want. So you either want to answer the question or you don't want to answer the question. It's a very simple question. It's either yes or no.
The reason people want, Gerard, the reason people want yes or no questions is because they are trying to get your stance. When every time someone asks you, is this color brown or white, you have to go through a 1,200 word diatribe. No one could get a discussion with that. We're trying to pin down a principle and you are running from the principle. It seems intellectually dishonest. We're trying to get you to say yes or no to understand the principle stance. Ask your question, Island Girl.
Right. My question is very simple. Very, very simple. You're saying, if you're saying, I'm not saying that you are saying because you don't answer the question. If you are saying that the baker was disrespectful to the gay couple, and as a business person, he should have respect, right? Constitution that people should be respectful to one another?
No.
Yes or no?
You said no.
No, I am not saying that.
Great. So I have a part B to this question, and then I'll let Ronnie go, right? Part B. Now that we've established, no, it should not be ingrained in the Constitution that people must be respectful of each other. And we're on the same platform here, right? The same level here. Then, in regards to the bakers' enshrined rights in the Constitution, is him being forced to either bake a cake or use his intellectual and creative abilities to please these gay people, or pay them not an infringement on his rights?
I think you need to rephrase the question, and I can't rephrase it.
Sure.
For you.
Let me use smaller words. If you force them to make the cake or pay them, isn't that them not respecting his rights?
They don't owe him respect.
So does he owe them respect?
What I can tell you, he owes.
No. Does he owe them respect?
He owes money.
He what?
No, he
Ask
doesn't.
me. If you ask me, remember this was subject for quite some time. But the point I am making to you is the fact of the matter is vendor has a responsibility not to discriminate. That is enshrined in Trinidad and Tobago law, it's enshrined in US law, it's enshrined in UK law, it is enshrined in Scandinavian law, it's enshrined in EU law.
Okay, well, reference the specific statute for me. Reference the specific statute for me. Because
It's all going on Nathan's page later. I have never spoken anything on this live that I did not back with that document.
Okay.
Yeah, Ronnie, go ahead with your question. Sorry, I could get her turn.
And this is the problem I have here, right? If I don't, okay, so let me say I am a Muslim and I don't, I know this person does not follow my thing, the cross-contaminating with the pork and whatever, right? Would it be right for me to go, let me say I'm vegan, right? You want to go somewhere that doesn't cater to your needs and expect them to meet your needs. That's not where I was going with this, but what I wanted to bring up was the baker who was very respectful to these people. Mind you, because the baker even told them, look, I don't have nothing against gay people. I can make you a birthday cake if you would like that, but I will not make you a wedding cake.
Correct.
Which is fair. And as a person, as I said before, when I said the whole thing about the discrimination thing, if I go to somewhere and they discriminate against me, I should not be hung in that person for them to do any service for me. I should go and look for somebody who respects my views, or somebody who aligns themselves with my ideals or whatever. I don't think it is fair for you to go to somebody who you know, because the people know, because they did this several times and the man had to prove, look, I don't even do Halloween cakes and them kind of thing because it's against my religion. That's what you in the case, you know. Anyway, so it is not fair that they were targeting this man and then they went back and they were targeting several other businesses that they knew the people and them
looking for money because they know these fundamentalists can't help themselves.
Yeah, but they did.
Wow! Wait, Gerard. Gerard, why are you so anti-Christian? Because when I asked you about the pork to the Muslim, you said, no, I can't do that. So why is it bad for someone to purposefully go and offend Muslims, but not bad to purposefully go and offend the Christians?
I am not quite sure.
No, I am you could come down, Ronnie. Gerard, answer me that. Why is it...
So there's no anti-Christian anything. What I am saying very clearly, and I mean you're not listening, you're maneuvering. What I am saying very clearly is the onus is on the person who is in the position of power in the situation to not discriminate based on any legally protected status.
Okay.
And the law is super clear. The person who is targeting you. Because that's what they're doing. They're looking for money.
This does not
Okay, so I'm just now, Trini Hotep, I'm trying to get Gerard to answer. So Gerard, you cannot discriminate against anyone based on protected status.
Protected status.
Okay, I am a Satanist, that's my religion. I want you to slaughter a pig for me for my religious purposes. I go to you as a Muslim. Must you do it?
And the answer is no. So
And-
black and red, that's the only thing I have to do.
And you think,
Do I cite as the reason is the problem?
and you think legally I should be able to sue that Muslim and win money from them?
Well, it's not even what I think.
But I am, wait, Gerard, it is what you think. I am not asking you about jurisprudence. We know the jurisprudence. He won. I am not asking you about that. You were wrong on the jurisprudence. I am asking, what do you think?
So what I think is that every business owner or every person in a position of authority has a responsibility to protect themselves from those types of situations by not citing anything about any protected status.
I am not asking you whether they should cite it. I am asking you if you think that legally I should be able to sue that Muslim. Your preference for law.
So what I think about the law and what the law is two different things. It doesn't matter what is right or wrong.
Gerard, can you answer one single question, bro? Please, one. Answer one now, bro. Please, one.
Asking me a question that doesn't have an answer. I can't have an opinion about the opinion of the court.
Yes, you can.
It doesn't make any sense.
What are you talking about, Gerard? You telling me that you cannot have a view on law. So, back in the days of slavery, when slavery was legal, you as a person out there would have said, you know, slavery is in the Constitution. I cannot have a view on the Constitution, you know. The Constitution is the Constitution. What are you talking about?
Are we talking about my opinion on if something is right or wrong, or are you talking about somebody's right to sue? Because if you're speaking about somebody's right to sue, that is beyond my opinion. If you're asking me my opinion, yo, you're shit. I think that they're shit wrong and patently wrong and noted. I get that, but what I am saying to you is somebody's right to sue is not affected by my opinion.
I am not talking about somebody's right to sue, Gerard. I am talking about the legal framework. If you were Prime Minister of Trinidad promoting a law that should govern over the country, you were a legislator, would you want there to be a law that says I could sue a Muslim who doesn't slaughter a pig for me? Would you want that in our law books?
No, definitely not. That's not a statute issue anyway.
Yeah, what's up?
Hi, good night, folks. Lovely discussion we have here today. I think one thing we need to balance out this discussion for everybody to get a fair word in is that more than just principle, we have to look at morality. So the principle is set. Morality-wise, however, the result will differ from person to person. So that if it is, let's use the baker for example, if it is you go to somewhere and they don't have a problem doing it, so morally they are comfortable, then that is business for them. But if they're not comfortable, then that's But the principle is that at any point in time with any exchange between customer and business owner, they should have a mutual respect and understanding. Just the same way if I mess up your order, I expect you would expect a refund. It's the same way if it is on your end there is something that I cannot do or will not do. You should understand that that's just not my cup of tea, not my forte, not my want. So morally, somebody else would be willing to take the job, and not because there are a lot of people who are also willing to do that job means that I have to abide by that. So more than just principle, we have to look at morals. So I think that's where Gerard's point is coming from, where he's more or less blurring the lines with principle, because he's looking at it from the point where these people were denied a cake. But more than just being denied a cake, Gerard, infringing on somebody's religious beliefs. So that if it is, there was a law, the same way you're talking about laws, if there was a law where it is gay people could not buy cakes, then obviously the whole of the world would stand behind them and be like, it's not fair. Why shouldn't they be allowed to buy cakes? They're human just like us. They like sweets just like us. What is wrong with cake? What is wrong with cake with icing? What is wrong with chocolate cake, Oreo cake, whatever cake it is that they want? Everybody would have said, that is discriminative. There is no reason for a law to be like that. And so morally, everybody would be behind them. But to say that everybody is required to do something that somebody else wants them to do is just wild in a concept.
Ria, I'm glad you brought in that, because that reminded me of something. Very good point. That reminded me of something very, very true in that whole sense, where there is a shade of difference between the moral and the principle side, especially when it comes to law. You see, the general idea of the law, especially when Richard Globman, I don't know if he's still there, asked way back up if isn't that part of the government's duty, protecting people who can't protect themselves. And part of the law was based on the idea that, okay, if there's one water company, and that one water company discriminates, then effectively they're doing what you said there. No black person would ever get access to water because there's one water company. But to me, the job of the government isn't to make sure everyone has access, everyone must see about someone else, but make sure everyone has free access to something. So, as you said, there should be no law prohibiting you from going to get a cake. So, of course, gay people could go get a cake if they want. But also, to me, there shouldn't be a law on the other side forcing anyone to do anything. I said earlier that in my book, I am even against that in the civil rights context. And I've seen some black people argue that that civil rights law actually did more negative to the black community. And this isn't even a controversial thing. This was what Malcolm X was saying since the 60s. Do not force the black community to become an underclass inside of the white economy by forcing white people to deal with the blacks. Similarly with affirmative action, where the government went in there and said, okay, your schools, you must take these black people now, and you must take X amount of black people. So the school forced it, and then all around the society then viewed all black college degrees at a little lesser view. The government doesn't have the ability to fudge those things. When the government gets into that, trying to force those things to happen, they make worse results. That's not their job. Your job is, here's the thing, everyone has the freedom to swing their hands. You do not have the freedom to hit me. So the government's job is to make sure that no one stops me from swinging my hand and no one hits me. That's it. You can't make me swing my hand up, swing my hand down, swing my hand around. That's not your business.
You might be a little wrong there, no, sir.
How's that?
Nothing stopping anybody from hitting you. What you have
Gerald, that's where I think when it is you look at principle, that's where everybody's in disagreement with you. Because once it is you are able to do something that ultimately causes damage or hurts me in any way, then you are now prioritizing your want over my safety or my security.
You're missing it?
Yeah.
I think...
This is the part that you're missing.
Right.
You were saying it, Ria, Nathan, you're missing it as well. The government's role is not to tell you what to do. The government's role cannot be, Gerald, you cannot go and murder somebody. Gerald, you cannot go and slander somebody. Gerald, you cannot wrongfully dismiss anybody. That's not the government's role. The government's role is to give Ria and Nathan equal protection.
No, it's not.
Gerard, sweetheart, let me tell you why it is you are wrong. Because there are laws of the land history, throughout time, there have always been rules, guidelines, stipulations in which we must operate within. The idea that the government says do not murder, or God says do not murder, and the idea for God to say, the idea that God would say don't murder, but God is there to protect us. It exists on both sides. God is there to ensure that we're not murdered, or not to ensure, but he's there to protect us. But on the flip side, he also does not want us to cause harm to other people. So he is there to tell the murderer don't murder, but he's also there to tell the person be safe.
Gerard, I think you ain't finished your point yet. So I want to get the fullness of your point. I feel like you ain't finished it yet.
Who carries out sentence, regardless of God of rule, law of God, law of man, law of justice?
Right, hold on. Before you even reach carrying out a sentence, you have to get to who's carrying out the action, who is the receiver of the action, and who's giving the action.
But wait. We I think we're reaching a couple steps down the road. You're saying, Gerard, that the government does not say that I can't kill anyone. The government's job is to give everyone equal treatment under the law. Here's the thing.
Not equal treatment, equal protection.
Equal protection, granted. But the law itself is written by who?
The law is written in the first instance by man, not by, and when I say by man, it is written by the spirit of what is right and wrong. It's called the common law in British systems.
No, okay, yes, but who writes this common law? Okay, but who writes the law? Not the government?
Judges.
Judges write the law?
Judges.
Oh God.
Wait, Gerard, judges write the law?
Definitely, sir.
So, okay, I don't think that means what you think it means, Gerard.
Wait, I'm trying to get, if he, wait, just now, before you go on, I just want to ask some questions to make sure I'm understanding you clearly. Do you mean,
yes,
as in when the cabinet wants to propose a legislation, they go and consult with judges to help them assist in the legal writing of the law? That's what you mean? Or you mean literally that judges are the legislators?
What I am saying, if you allow me to clarify, I don't want somebody accuse me of spinning top on man, and what I would like to do is clarify what I'm saying. Before we get to our parliament, which is the people and their representatives say, this is how we want to be governed. Before we get there, if the whole society is 5 people on this life, the 5 people on this life make some decisions as it relates to what we believe is right, what we believe is wrong. Where somebody can be hurt, we say, nah, boy, we can't allow society to put hurt on this person. We have to protect this person. So before we get to the statute, before we get to the technical and the letter, we get to what is justice. And justice is defined by people. What is justice?
Okay, but wait, Gerard, before you go on, because I have to keep asking questions to make sure I keep following.
Of course.
So,
no problem.
So, all right, the entirety of the country are the 27 people inside of this lie. We're trying to determine what is justice, but all 27 of us can't determine what is justice. That's not how it works. So, usually, we select a group of people to govern, as in to have control. And whoever those people who govern are, they are called the government. And those people in the government, don't they select the group of words, the moral landscape that we select as our constitution, as our laws? So isn't it the government who chooses the laws?
No, definitely not.
All right, well, carry on. Wait, I want him to finish his point.
If what you were saying was true, then But let me take that away. If the government decide to do something and the people say, yo, they're not right, they're not fair, that causing this man to lose, that causing this man to hurt, the people go in and say, yo, we have to do something about this discuss that. So the government is not absolute in its lawmaking power.
But that doesn't negate the fact that they are the ones who select the law. Here's the thing: if we don't like the law, lots of people don't like the housing taxes, the building tax that they're looking to reimpose. The government can still impose that because they are the lawmakers. Maybe if enough people don't like it in the next national election, we could vote them out. But they would have already made that law because the government makes the law.
We haven't collected property tax since 2009.
Okay, but who is writing the property tax law right now?
The government always writes the law. But the point of the matter is the law is superseded by something. In this particular context, in Trinidad and Tobago, is superseded by the Constitution. And take away all those fancy words, it still comes down to what is right, just, and fair in a society.
That's not what it comes down to. It comes down to who has the power. It always comes down to who has the power. All right.
If that was true, then we wouldn't be having this discussion as it relates to constitutional actions being enforced in schools. Because who has the power? If this is a microcosm of society, Jared, his one is heaped up on Jared because Jared is saying, hey, let us observe the Constitution first, which is the law of our land, and everybody is saying concordat and moral and
No, Gerard, you are saying that you see something in the Constitution that nobody else sees. Because you are talking about this, but no one has challenged and won the Concordat.
So, Jared, is it that...
I am not saying... Go ahead.
Is it that when it is you mention judges and the judicial arm of government, are you talking about the fact that even when laws are made, like let's say the penalty for committing murder, are you talking about the fact that in terms of justice, different people could receive different sentences? Like it's not just once it is your murder, it's 5 years jail, hard time. You mean like that? That is what you're trying to get at?
What I am getting at, and the legal facts of these are beyond question, so let's not talk about the legal facts of it. What I am saying is, we have to be concerned as a society with protecting minority groups, protecting the Muslim who want to go in the Catholic school, protecting the Rastaman who want to go in the Hindu school.
Why?
All right. Gerard, hold on. So let me just give you this very true story that happened in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Now, as we know, there are Muslims that currently go to Catholic schools and they can wear their hijabs, correct? And this was done because of a case in Holy Name Convent years ago where it is a Muslim passed to the school and she was told that that hijab is not part of the school uniform, that she has to take it off. For this, she ended up going to court and she won because the school was infringing on her religious beliefs, correct? Remember that story? If anybody does not remember it, that's what happened. It just so happened that the person was so traumatized after all what went on that she did not even bother going to school. But that quote-unquote paved the way that other Muslims could come to the school and wear their hijabs, right? Now, if it is you want to say this is a win for minorities, or it should be that other people are allowed to come to the school regardless of religion, then yes, I agree. However,
I disagree.
Just the same way that the Catholic school has a dress code, Muslim schools have a dress code.
Correct.
If it is I am Catholic and I go to a Muslim school, I am now considered the minority. Do I get to not wear a hijab and long track pants as a female because I am not Muslim, or do I now have to conform to their school uniform as it is in line with their, not just school rules, but their religious beliefs.
And you see, Ria, right before anyone replies to that, again, to go back to the name I said at the very beginning, because we started off talking about Kiki Palmer and Jonah Hill with all of this area, is principle. Because we have to understand, if we want something here, what is the principle that we are going to enact? Is it that we want the principle that we want to carry our own religious idiosyncrasies and go into another religious institute and be able to maintain those? Are we sure that's what we want to do? Or is it that we want religious institutions to be able to carry out their own religious ethos while they conduct their affairs? To me, for me personally, how this enters that, hey, Trini Madman, how this enters that is government funding. So I always say this discussion comes a little tricky because there is government funding inside those denominational schools. So if people are paying tax money towards the school, they should have a say in it. And that's why I say, here's my solution. Let's finish all this argument. In my view, privatize these denominational schools. If you want to go to the school, you could get a scholarship where the government pays your fees. But privatize them and allow each school to run based on their own views. And I could assure you, we are going to see differences in performance based upon these schools and their views. And what annoys me no end to this is the way people decide. You have the freedom of movement. You could go one place or the other. You decide to go a place where you know their rules, and then you say, I don't want to keep those rules. So there was an argument in France a couple of years ago over the same hijab business, where some people were saying, based on the French law, they do not want people to cover the entirety of their face. They think it's a safety issue, etc., etc. And some French places actually accepted that they ban people based on if you want to wear the hijab or not. And to me, I agree with those things. I agree people should have the freedom to discriminate, because when you don't, it leaves the discrimination on the state. And I don't think the state has the moral authority to determine where discrimination should start and end.
I don't agree with that particularly, Nathan, because once it is, you have something in place that is putting, I don't want to say disadvantage, but once it is, you, in a public space at least, you have laws or rules whereby people are not allowed to move freely as they are in their sex, in their religion, in their whatever, then that is infringing on them because of their way of life or because of their beliefs. So I wouldn't say that makes sense.
Yes.
You should be able to accommodate people from all walks of life.
So you think that discrimination shouldn't be allowed? I should not be allowed to discriminate against someone?
It's not that you shouldn't be allowed to discriminate, but once this discrimination results in somebody being negatively affected or held back or set back, or like for example, they could no longer be in the workforce or whatever or whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, obviously discrimination would have some negative effect. So if I am a teacher, I shouldn't be able to discriminate on who I receive as my student?
Correct.
I'm asking Ria.
Well, it depends. No, it depends on the type of school that you go to.
No, a private school. I am a private teacher. I teach privately.
If you are right. If it is you are in a private school, that means the people coming to that private school are coming to abide by the rules of said school. So they now have to conform to the rules of that school.
Which can discriminate. So this is just now, Gerard. Just now, I'm trying to see if I get Ria's point, and then you would come in after I try to get Ria's point. So from this I'm trying to get the principled stance here. In my private life, I'm not talking about public institutions. In my private capacity, my private free market life, should I legally be allowed to discriminate?
No.
So again, as a private teacher then, I am a private teacher. I should not be...
Well, right, that's the difference. When you're talking about a teacher taking in students, but I'm asking about the school, the laws of the school itself.
But I'm talking private. So, okay, I open a private school and I have 10 other teachers with me. Mindful Educational Institution, MEI, and you can come to here. But then you're telling me I shouldn't be able to discriminate on who I let into my school?
Are you discriminating? Are you saying that you can't come here because you're black, or you can't come here because you're Hindu? Or are you saying that, okay, you did not make the marks to come to the school, or okay...
Either way is discrimination, is it not?
Willing to conform to our rules to come to the school.
It's discrimination. What does discriminate mean, Ria? What does discriminate mean?
Discrimination is a prejudice against a group of people. You see, if it is against a certain demographic, if it is you are discriminating people by skin color, that is referred to as racism, but it means that you're not going to allow anybody of that race into your school.
So, you think I should be able to discriminate, but there should be protected categories that I cannot discriminate against?
No, I am saying that if it is you are an all-girls school, then yes, you have all rights to not allow boys in the school because you're...
That's discrimination.
An all-girls school. No, it is... No, it's not. It is a school geared for females.
So if I'm an all-African school,
Schools geared for both.
if I'm an all-African school then?
If it is you are going to this school, it means you have to fit in and conform to this school.
Okay, I am opening an all-African school, Ria. I'm opening an all-African school, an all-black school. Should I be allowed to do that?
Okay.
So then I should be able to discriminate in my private life. Wait. I'm trying to wait. I'm just trying to get the answer. So I should be able to discriminate.
But that's not discrimination. Wait, hold on. You know what discrimination would have been? Discrimination would have been if it is you said we can have all white schools, but we can't have any schools for blacks. You can't have schools for blacks. You can't have schools for whites. You can't have. If there was any group of people that was not
If it's an all-white school, but not an all-black.
Listen to me. If it is white people who are allowed to go to school and then black people could not go to school, that is discrimination.
That is, Ria, that is what Gerard speaks about. That is systemic discrimination. That's discrimination on a systemic-wide basis. But you can't have individual discrimination.
Right, but what I am saying is that even in this system, it is not that nobody gets an education. You go to a particular school to get your education. That is different. In the case of the baker, you could get your cake from anywhere else. You don't have to get your cake from this particular person. You are not denied cake.
So, okay, if I understand your point, Ria, what it sounds like you're saying is there should not be systemic discrimination where you cannot get education based on being black. But on a private basis, someone should individually be able to discriminate where I could tell white people alone could come to my school. You could tell black people alone could come to your school. So that's what you're saying. On the private basis, you could discriminate, but not on a...
But okay, if it is using discriminate in that sense, then every single business is discriminating because if
That's
it is like open a dessert shop, that's discriminating against people for food, like...
Yes, that's what they do.
That's kinda my point. To discriminate, just now, Hotep, sorry. To discriminate, yes, there's the discrimination where we kind of tweak the definition and turn it into a social justice word. Let's forget about that. The actual meaning of discriminate here is just to recognize a difference. To see a difference is to discriminate. To treat it differently is to discriminate. So what I am saying, my principle is that I believe government on a statewide systemic basis should not discriminate. I agree with that. But let me finish. But on a private individual basis,
Negative.
I believe
Discriminate is a negative word. So yeah.
is it?
This is a mad.
It is.
So,
Why?
No,
Wait. You know, selecting a spouse, selecting a boyfriend is a discriminatory choice.
Exactly.
So unless probably discrimination meaning itself changed.
Bali, that's one, just now area, that's one definition that has been structured around social justice. Search discrimination etymology, as in look for the origin of the word discrimination. It just means to select between.
Exactly. This is
Right, but so then probably we should have started off the conversation talking about what type of discrimination, because once it is you're being unfair to a group of people, and that's what I don't think everybody's agreeing with me on, because when it is we talk about discrimination, I know it's
Here's the reason, Ria. Here's the reason. I know I'm cutting you up. Sorry, eh? But here's the reason why I don't want to use that definition. The word unfair is a loaded subjective term. We cannot determine that. Unfair would be selected by some authority figure. So to say discrimination means an unfair choosing between. Well, some men who want to get into women's bathrooms would say that when you tell them they cannot get in, that's unfair, while some women would say that's fair. So it's a subjective term. We cannot use fair in that sense. That's why the definition that uses unfair is a nonsense definition tweaked by social justice warriors that kills the meaning of the word. Discriminate is just to select. We're seeing the differences between something and we're discriminating based on that. My view is that on a government systemic level, we should not have any. But on a private personal level, it gets insane when you attempt to tell people that they don't have the ability to discriminate on a personal level, because you start off telling them they can't do it when it's unfair. And this was the argument that Jared was saying was hyperbole early on. You start off in the 60s saying, well, you can't do it unfairly when you do it against race, but then it doesn't stay with race. It becomes gender identity. And what is gender identity? Gender identity is what someone says they feel like on a day-to-day basis. So now you cannot discriminate in New York. This is law. Jared might say it's hyperbole, but it's law in New York right now. You cannot discriminate against someone's gender expression, which is how they feel to dress, carry about themselves based on any historical factor or gender basis. Listen, it gets very far. So the unfair term cannot fit there. That's why I say leave people privately to be able to discriminate.
So it's not, so even before we discuss whether it's the principle, we have to discuss whether it's considered discrimination, basically.
No, it is discrimination. The thing of the matter is this. Let me use a historical perspective here. Let's talk about Jim Crow. Right? So we're talking about probably the late 1800s to until the Civil Rights Bill was being written up. So let me talk early 1900s. Black people couldn't walk in a white store and buy something in a white store. That was discrimination. Facts. Separate but equal was a doctrine. You know what black people know.
By the way, Bali, I now recognize that's the Trinity guy. I liked your video, Bali.
Nathan said something about what it is you just said, where it is he said where it is you were saying that blacks could not walk into a white cafe and thing, and he was talking about the fact that the black only spaces and white only spaces. This is what I was saying, like when it's something that infringes. So if it is you are saying that people are going to die if it is they are in certain places, so that if it is a white and a black person are together, one of them faces death, then that's where we have the issue.
Yeah, well, that's a crime.
I'm not speaking about that. There's a difference between a black man not being able to walk inside a white store, the difference between a white man being able to walk into a black neighbor and lynch the man. That's two different things. So the thing is this, the way how black people used to combat Jim Crow in the 1920s was build their own communities, build their own stores, build their own banks, and everything like that. And they bank with the people and they create beautiful communities.
And was successful.
The thing about it is, exactly. So the thing about it is this, is everybody discriminates on some level, and it's always unfair to somebody because the unfairness to a singular person is what they deem it to be. I could say right now this glass I have in my hand is discriminating because I don't like how the glass look. The glass should be patterned to how I like it. That's craziness. That's just nebulous thinking. It don't work like that. The reason why you have the ability to choose different things, that's why you get to discriminate. You get to discriminate on the basis of that you're a human being with faculties intact, free will, freedom. Freedom makes you have the ability to discriminate. A slave cannot discriminate. You know why a slave can't discriminate? Because they have no choices, no option. A slave could only eat what the master give him. Humans have the ability to discriminate because they are free.
And for example,
By all the definition of discrimination,
wait.
slaves could technically discriminate. They could choose to like one slave boy over another slave boy, and that's discrimination. So technically, slaves can discriminate. Everybody can discriminate. You see, you can't tell, but that's not what you're talking about now, and that's what we've been talking about.
I never
because
said
on
that.
one end, you say discrimination is differentiating, and now you're saying that is not that. You stick with it. If it is you saying discrimination is differentiating,
Understanding what I'm saying.
He was-
I said somebody who is born into slavery cannot discriminate on anything. They are property. They have to only abide by what the slave master, the owner of the person, does, says, and do. A slave can't do anything but do what the master tell him to do. He has no right to discriminate because he has no rights at all.
Right. Bear in mind, just what is going on here. What I see going on here with what Ria is saying there is Hotep is speaking in generalities, and you're getting specific on his thing. He's saying wait, Ria, wait. He is saying in generality. If a slave were to obey everything that is the rule for a slave, he will not be able to discriminate. But obviously a slave is still a human. The human still has mental faculties. A slave could still in his mind discriminate against one slave girl and like that slave girl more than the other. That's a discriminatory choice. And I saw Bali saying we could use distinguish. And I'm using the word discriminate on purpose because I'm trying not to lose the meaning of these words. It's like how those black Americans in the Black American studies changed the word of racism to mean prejudice plus power. That's not what racism means. Otherwise, in Trinidad, we lose the meaning. Do not allow those insane people to lose meanings to us. I don't understand how we determine that it's a good idea that we should not be allowed to discriminate. That's insane. We need discrimination. That's how we function. When I see, so example, I regularly see the hashtag support black businesses. That's a discriminatory choice, and I think you should have the ability to make that discriminatory choice. Yeah.
So let me just, before you all get carried away, let me just clear the air with what I mean by discrimination. Discrimination for me is not just simple differentiation or saying people are this or that. It is not just putting people in categories. To me, discrimination is when somebody is when there is a group of people that are being disadvantaged because of a certain thing, whether it be their skin color, whether it be their religion, whether it be their gender. That is what I know discrimination to be.
All right, let me just give the origin. The original word for discriminate.
That's what I was referring to.
Let me just put this down there for the chat one time. The word for discriminate from the original Latin 1620s and before means distinguish from something else or from each other. Observe or mark the differences between. That's what to discriminate means.
I am talking about discrimination. When I say it, I say I don't support discrimination. It's of certain demographics for them to have disadvantages in society. That's what I mean when I was saying discrimination.
You're talking about
education. So that's why I was saying, right?
So he says to say, well, my definition of woman is a person.
No, I would say, that's why I would say education for everybody. You can't have all girls schools, and you can't have Christian schools, and you can't have Muslim schools. But it shouldn't be that anybody is denied education. That's discrimination. If somebody is denied education.
All right.
If
So
somebody is denied education,
Before we go forward,
if somebody is denied a right,
TM Records, for one, just now to answer TM Records, I don't just Google things. There are websites. You don't just Google and listen to the first answer you see from Google. There are websites you could go in from literal universities with papers that have the sources of where these words come from. So it's not just random Google. Bear in mind what Ria, just to note what Ria and Gerard are going on are two different things, just by the way. Ria is saying that she believes that in the original sense of discrimination, as I'm using, you can discriminate. You could have Christian schools, you could have religious schools. Gerard is saying he doesn't believe you should have those either. Am I correct, Gerard?
I am not saying that. But here, this is.
But when Ria said it, you said no, you can't.
Okay, well, please allow me to clarify.
Good.
Despite all the old talk that flowing back and forth here, we have United Nations Declaration on the Rights of a Human Being, one. And you have the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago if we bring it home, because the convention brings effect to our Constitution. Our Constitution does not confer responsibilities on institutions. It confers inalienable rights on every individual. So, if we look at it through those lens, and we also look at it through the lens that our final court of appeal, and I think that the UK has articulated, they have the best articulation of anti-discrimination laws.
I don't think so, but you're entitled to your opinion.
Yes, of course. So, they have identified specifically in law what the protected characteristics of a human being are, given effect by the Human Rights Act 1998. So what I am saying to you is, your private institution cannot discriminate, because your private institution must respect the constitutional rights of everybody. Boys' schools are unconstitutional. Just wait for somebody to test it. Girls' schools are unconstitutional. Just wait for somebody to test it. The fact of the matter is, our entire educational system is out of step with the legal framework for protecting liberty. It's just a legal fact. So then, as we have our own opinions, thank God there's a law that creates.
Gerard, you keep talking about legal fact and things that have never been legally tested. Gerard, shut up with this legal thing now, man. Oh gosh, you're overdoing it. You keep saying legal thing, trying to use the authority of the law to supersede everything people are saying. Don't do that unless you could quote the legal precedents on something. Don't say legal fact on this, because the legal fact is we have boys' schools. So until you could show me the challenge that cancels the boys' schools, you can't say it's a legal fact. What we are talking here is opinion. We are talking opinions. It's an opinion show. We are talking about our opinions on what the law should be. So I am saying my opinion is that a law should not stop us from discriminating. We're asking what your opinion on it is. Your opinion is that there shouldn't be boys' schools, that no institute should be able to select only boys to teach. That's your opinion?
hold on, wait, I just have a question for Gerard.
Please let me answer Nathan's question. My opinion is that our schools, our institutions of learning should defer to the Constitution. That's my opinion.
Right, okay, based on that, hold on, I have a question, Gerard. Okay, so you're saying that whether it be a Christian, Muslim, Hindu, all these denominational schools that are partly run by a board that say we are all male, all female, they are unconstitutional. So that means all the government schools are constitutional. Why do people, hold on, unconstitutional because they don't discriminate in any way, form, or fashion. Everybody is allowed, regardless of everything. They don't have specifics to fit into those categories in government schools. Correct? Correct. Then here's my question. Why are parents wanting their children to go to unconstitutional schools?
Because they do.
No, it's because they have a system that works. They have a system that yields results. They have a system that once it is you are in it, you learn different things that you cannot get from the constitutional school.
I agree with you.
So, by the way, Gerard, just so you know, what you are saying is that a building cannot have a male and female washroom also. You know, that's where that goes down to also. You're saying if I can't discriminate, I can't have a male and female washroom. You're saying if I can't discriminate, how am I going to have male and female teams?
Correct. That's where it's going, and I'm not saying I agree with it.
But that's what I'm asking. Gerard, you just said that you believe. I asked for your opinion, and you said your opinion is the school should align to that law. So, is your opinion with the law, against the law? Can you please state your principled view?
No, it's a la carte.
And somebody can check to see if Jared is at ChatGPT with AI. Because I was like, at this point in time, it's like you can't get it as simple as how.
No, Island Girl, it's a liberal sort of leaning, and you see, this is funny because this is why Americans are so shocked that the Supreme Court is just striking down unconstitutional laws. You all believe these laws that they're striking down is so in the Constitution? That's a lie. Roe v. Wade got struck down because it's bad writing of law. Affirmative action, bad law. Listen, if they go after gay marriage, that might be bad law too.
It is. It is.
Exactly.
It is bad law.
And it's so funny to me that y'all will be so shocked that if somebody in Trinidad and Tobago ever bring forth the concordat to the actual court of law in Trinidad and Tobago, watch it get strike down and watch everybody be shocked. Oh my God.
Because all the best lawyers and professionals went to prestige schools and they want to uphold that system.
No, it's not even that, Island Girl.
So they will fight for it.
Island Girl. What's the funny thing is that people just believe the constitutional is daddy. Constitutional supposed to trump anything without actually reading constitutional law. No, I understand that. But you all believe that constitutional law is just some big daddy. And you need to read constitutional law first and read the Constitution and understand what it is. Because you're trying to apply it to laws that have been written in this country. And it's like, what you all believe it is?
So, alright, we closing in. Just now, everybody go and get a close up. But we closing in on past 1:45. So, everybody will get their closing area. That's the time. Everybody will get their closing statements. And on that note, as Trini Hotep was saying there, we have to bear in mind, as Jared rightfully pointed out, there are different jurisdictions of law. The US has a different legal scheme work to the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has more of, I suppose what Jared would prefer, more of a top-down legal framework where they basically say what the government can do to you. What the US law basically is God gave you these rights, and the government doesn't have a right to abridge it. That's what the US Constitution basically is. So they see things kind of from the opposite view. That's why in the US case, some of what Jared is saying there is good law. In the US, it would almost always be struck down because their view is from a bottom-up kind of view, while the British view is more top-down. He says that you say that if someone challenges it and it goes to the highest court in England, it would be struck down. But I still find that hard to believe because the England education system is still very much in tune with prestige and boys' schools and girls' schools and all of that. So you see, some people think the letter of the Constitution is the matter. It isn't. The real matter is always to the judges. It's always up to the judges. It's always. no matter what, a judge could say what they want. So, for example, the Roe v. Wade thing, they said they saw a right written in the penumvirate of the something. They made it up. That's what judges could do. So the Constitution nearly doesn't matter. It's kind of up to the judges. And if you ask me, if I think several Etonian old school judges in England are going to kick down anything to do with prestige schooling anywhere in the Commonwealth, I think we will wait a long while to see that happen. That's my opinion. All right, everybody has a chance to give their closing. With Rhea is on the top there, so we'd start with Rhea, Gerard, Island Girl, and Chinny Hotep. Yeah, folks, give me it. I'm just going for a little refill of water. Let me hear you.
I just want to reiterate that once it is we are talking about discrimination of a group of people and they are denied opportunity for things that other people are allowed, then that is when I have the problem. So in the case with the baker, if it is that gay people were denied cake altogether, then to me that is where the issue is. But to say that I have to serve you or that I have to do this, no. To say that there needs to be no separation when it comes to any system that we have, education, sports, etc., then no, I don't agree with that. I was not talking about discrimination in a general sense of differentiation, but I was thinking more about it as in the setback for a certain group of people, demographic. So that's just my thing. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, Gerard. By the way, Gerard, just before you go, I really enjoy you being here. It's you who caused me to go till 1 o'clock. If you wasn't here, we would have done all 11:30. So you added to this, even though you know it gets heated sometimes. That's the benefit of it.
That's a fact. No, but I watching the comments and I'm feeling decidedly unwelcome.
Nah, you shouldn't have. Because if you went in your bed, the conversation would have done.
I not even joking. I watch in the comment section and I realize, wait now. Some people are really feeling my vibes. It's better I put myself somewhere else. Another part of the internet that's more friendly.
If they weren't feeling your vibes, they would not be in the live. That's, you see, the benefit is if no one disagrees, then we're never sure whether we're wrong or not. So the disagreement isn't unwelcome.
Okay. I was saying be careful when you attack the dissenting voice, but that's the Trinbagonian way, right?
That's the human way. The tall grass is cut down, the nail that sticks up gets hammered.
Alright, good. All I'm gonna say is that this is a policy issue. And while we have to be very careful what we invite into our space, because this is where I sometimes, even though I'm loath to say it, I agree with the African argument. And the African argument is that we have a right to self-determination and we should not be dictated to as it relates to what our policy should be. And I agree that Caribbean societies have a right to self-determination. But at the same time, I see our African brothers and sisters gearing up for widespread constitutional abuse. And something needs to balance that out. So as we bring it home to Trinidad and Tobago, we have to find a way to get the best benefits out of our educational system, some of which are really, really good. But have the flexibility to evolve, because the definitions, no matter how you might dice, it has changed. The roles, the definitions, the codes address, the mores, the folkways, they've all evolved over the past 50 years. We cannot continue to hold ourselves rigidly to a framework that doesn't evolve with it. Because what we're going to continually do is create injustice in our system at the school level, and that spills over into adulthood, that spills over to real life. And let's remember, something went terribly wrong because every day we having random hits in the middle of the road. Man just running out and backing shot, killing people. That wasn't the case in the year 2000. It was 2005. Our society is devolving and the education system hasn't changed. Maybe something needs to be looked at and addressed.
All right,
Something to think about.
I could see that. I could see that. Maybe some people may look at it vice versa, that the society is devolving. So maybe if you look at how society was at one point, maybe we need to get back to the education system that was there. That's how some people may look at it. And on the note of offense in the chat, Ria coming here for a long time, coming here after a long time. I don't think anybody has ever gotten as much wood in the chat as Ria has gotten. So, Gerard, sir, you're basically a newcomer for like the last month or so. Ria been here. Listen, Ria gets some licks in that chat. You see Shy Panda laughing. Ria gets some licks in that chat. But me ain't gonna lie, Ria, you have a broad back, Ria.
Men, because you don't want children, get a vasectomy.
No, we don't start that. Island Guild, man. You sleep away, Island Guild?
No, I right here.
Oh.
I don't like to overtalk anybody. So I just wanna circle back to what we started to talk about, but what was the main point, which was the principles. Basically, while I agree and I'm in alignment with what you're saying, Jared, at the end of the day, you can't make meaningful change if you don't have a stance. You don't stand for something, you fall for anything. And it'll be easy to cut you down if you don't have a solid defense, which is what you stand for, which is what your opinion is. I think that it's important to stand for something. In the case of the words, I really support you, Nathan, in trying to keep the meaning of words, right? Because as I go back to my point from before, I feel like we're going mad in this place and people not remembering things. Like, I don't know if people forgetting, like, what, I don't know what they put in the water, really and truly, right? Maybe I not getting nothing in the water because I'm in a different country right now. So I hope when I come back, wherever they put in the water, that making everybody forget the basic principles of life, you know? They stop doing it, or I'll drink rainwater or something from now on. But basically, I mean, in terms of the concordat and the discrimination, I think we do have to take away from one person and give to another person to prove that we're not discriminatory. And to be able to discern and make choices is a good thing, right? Because the fact that people want their children to go to these concordat, religious schools is discrimination against the junior sex and senior secondary schools.
There are no junior sex and senior sex anymore. What are you saying?
Well, yeah. So, yes, you're right. I will, right? Remember I was. But it is discrimination. So at every point in life, we do discriminate. We discriminate against types of cars. We discriminate against brand of spaghetti in the supermarket. Discrimination is important. The ability to choose between things and have preferences is the spice of life. You know? So let's not look at it for what it's not. You know? So I want to end off right there. I have nothing more to say.
Nice. Jaron, haven't you seen her name? Her name is Island Girl Sees the World. So she could be anywhere in the world, sir. Hold up, what going on, bro? With your bedtime voice. I find that note, that bed voice.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, bro. Yeah, people discriminate against other people. I mean, we lock up people behind bars. We take away their rights because they do some nonsense in the society, some nebulous nonsense. So we discriminate, and you're not out there trying to break down. You're not being abolitionist. Most of you are not abolitionist. Anyway, as they say, as the famous queen said, if they're hungry, let them eat cake. Here's the thing. There are men that like this society a la carte. There are men who like this society with structure and order. One society is strong, one society is weak. Here's the thing, man. It's all about what you choose. Choose order, or you want this society with anarchy and chaos. It's one of the two. It's never in between. Yes. It doesn't depend. It does not depend. It's one or the other. History would also teach you that. So guys, it's either you're mindful or you're mindless. And yeah, let me wrap it up, man. It's that time. It's that time.
Yeah, man. All right, it was nice. As I saw Jared say, the principle rule of law. What I'm saying with the basis of this as I wrap it up is is that I think principle, when I say principle, I think whatever is my principle stands even above the rule of law. The rule of law should be based on principle. The principle stands above that. That's why the principle is so important, the principle thing. So whenever you're thinking about something, you want something done, especially in the political landscape, you want something done. Think about, okay, what is the principle behind what I want here? Is this principle going to come back to haunt me? And regularly you see it in politics. So like the US that has been lasting for so long, you see it regularly in their politics. One side would break a long-held principle inside of their politics, and then shocker, when the next side gets into governance, they're surprised that the next side uses that new changed principle against them. It's just the way it goes. That's why you want a principled stance. What is the principle? All right, so I am glad everyone tuned in. This was nice. We reached 1 o'clock, people. We reached 1 o'clock. Yeah, this was nice. So I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be tomorrow, Tuesday, around that, well, that's today, Tuesday, around that 9:30 p.m. time. You know, I really rate the Instagrammers who are there. There's a loyal contingent who always over on Instagram taking in no comments. They're not even really in the chat, but they're just there taking it in. I rate you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Bali, bro, thank you for tuning in. I really liked your input in that Trinity stuff. It was some of the more level-headed things in it. Thank you. And I thank you all for tuning in. I'm about to discriminate about staying awake. Yeah, man. I don't even think I'm going to sleep right now anyway. So, latest people, I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and I will see you guys for the next Mindful Live. Until then, peace. Hold it down. Laters. My playlist done first we hear long.